Hello everyone and welcome to today's presentation of the SMZ3 Randomizer tournament. We got a good one for you today. This is a match of 16. We got our number 1 seed, Osse101, playing our 16th seed, ARealCutie. This should be a real good match. I am Apathy Duck, and I will be joined shortly here by A0. He got a little tied up, so he'll be joining us a few minutes into the broadcast. But yeah, this should be a real exciting one. Aussie, the number 1 seed, real strong in both games, and Cutie is the one of the best SM players in this tournament, if not the best SM player in this tournament. So very strong on that side. Not quite as good in A Link to the Past. So I mean, I think Aussie does have the advantage in this setting, just because Aussie is very well rounded. I know Cutie usually will do stuff like really try to push that SM advantage, do things like doing like an early rec ship or something like that. It's going to be hard against Aussie to get too much of an advantage that way. Aussie is also a very strong SM runner. In fact, just yesterday he got second place in reverse boss order in that category. So just very good both games. So it's just, a lot of it's going to come down to routing and everything, especially how much Link to the Past we have to do. The more SM, the better for Cutie. We'll see if Aussie does anything specifically to counterplay Cutie. Maybe looking to defend against SM a little bit more, or knowing him, he's probably just going to play the seed pretty straightforward. Both starting in A Link to the Past here. So pretty standard opening for both these guys. We're gonna get a quick map check from Aussie. I saw a pendant on desert. I didn't see if the other two were red or they were crystals. I don't know if they were 5/6 or not. I got some early bombs. That's good. We need those early on for Kakariko. Need a couple bombs there to get some of the locations over there. So money and bombs early, definitely what you want to see. It's probably going to prevent any sort of double dipping. Another 20 bucks in Sanctuary for Aussie. Looks like Cutie may be heading to Sasha with those bombs. Aussie doing a little bit more of a standard Kakariko opening, not checking the Lumberjack, which I'm a fan of. It tells you something's up there, but it just replaces the fact that you need to find the boots for wherever that thing is up there. And it's a real easy check once you get the boots. You can combo it in with Bonk Rocks, so I always prefer delaying it. So this is the start of A Link to the Past that Cutie wants to see. He's got a pendant Turtle Rock. That's most of the Turtle Rock requires a lot of items, including the Ice Rod. So seeing that as a pendant, less likely you're going to be looking for one thing. He's also got the Blue Mail. It's going to help him with safety a little bit through the game he's a little less experienced with. He's going to be falling up into Kakariko, just shortly behind Aussie here. Yeah, Cutie opting out not to do Eastern, maybe looking for the bow or hope to put it off till later. Eastern is a Sphere 0 check. Missing something pretty early in a Sphere 0 especially in this game, can be pretty damaging. You can end up just searching. You end up searching all of 2 games for something you just missed. Also, getting that screw attack. It's kind of nice to see, but the problem with it is it's like the worst opening item. It opens up left side. Well, okay, there's speed. Speed also not great because it's not morph, but does let you do the early super checks as well, where screw attack wouldn't, and then screw attack also opens up old mother brain, so it kind of splits Brinstar checks into two locations that you can't loop through like you can with the morph ball. So if we do get early morph, those are 2 really good items.
All right, now I'm here. Sorry for the delay, Duck, but
Oh.
I am all caught up, I think, on what's going on. I did miss where Osse got all those rupees. Did he do a hula play?
No, I didn't do it. I think there's just a 300 somewhere. I'm sure Cutie's gonna be stumbling into him shortly.
Gotcha.
There they are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen any of these guys open with a hula hand. More often than not, you kind of stumble into the rupee. You really don't abandon the bottle merchant too often, and there's always times later to kind of route it back in. So I don't think too many of the people remaining really start off with hula hand. It's kind of a, I don't know. It's not my favorite play to make. A lot of times you spend a lot of time setting it up, and then it's just nothing, or you just have money and you didn't need it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we'll see if either of these guys decide to chase that screw speed early. A lot of times, when you get speed or screw, you think, "Oh, I gotta do Brinstar now," and then Morph Ball is just somewhere else in Light World. So I'd probably expect some of at least the high density locations. We may see Brinstar before like an Eastern or something though.
Yeah, and at least they do have at least one power bomb pack, which is nice. So if they do find the morph ball in those early Brinstar checks, they're going to be able to take advantage right away, be able to clear everything out with at least one power bomb pack.
Yeah, that flute early is nice. Even well with those high jump boots, we actually have. Oh wait, no, we don't have Varia. I was like, oh, we'll have Upper Norfair. We don't have Varia yet, and not really enough E-tanks to run there either.
Yeah, it just gives us the one item at the high jump boots E-tank location. That's a pretty quick check, so we might see these guys opt to rescue the old man to get the save and quit point and pop into Super Metroid and check that really quickly.
Yeah, not a. If you're really thinking about those retro checks, kind of a way to route it is you can do the Death Mountain checks, get that save, or you can even put off the save because it's not on logic and you do have the flute. Check the high jump, and then you can just reset right up into the ship if that item is nothing. So that would be some pretty decent routing. See if either one of them opt to do that.
Yeah, I would expect Mini Moldorm Cave and the dam first from both of them. But after that, that would be a solid choice, I think.
Yeah, especially with that flute now. Mini Moldorm's really not going to get too much faster at any point. Maybe you can put up like Ice Rod Cave again because it's like we have the flute. You can do it really whenever you want when you come back to Link to the Past. That is a really nice crab. 4 bombs. One of the better things to see. The other thing, especially if you, I think Osse didn't know about that. You know, you don't really never need bombs coming Mini Moldorm because you always can grab that bush crab right before you get here. Yeah, so Mini Moldorm a big nothing today.
Yeah, we'll see if Osse looks like he's switching to flute, so he's probably not going to go all the way to Ice Rod Cave unless he's fluting there.
Yeah,
8.
I mean, it's faster to flute to 8 to do the ice rod check. Yeah, at this point, I'm really thinking it's probably those retro checks, or maybe the high jump E tank could potentially be it as well.
Yeah, early mushroom is a good check too. We're seeing that from ARealCutie right now. Early fetch quests tend to be a little more likely to be progression, but this time does not pay out.
Yeah, I'm surprised he actually handed it in with it being that early and having the flute. Like I mentioned, going up to Death Mountain and then resetting. You could also just reset the flute when you're about to do your check. So that's what I would have done. Figuring like I'm probably going to be doing Brinstar soon. Let me hand this in and then reset it. Not only can you potentially do the magic bat out of logic later for not too much down. Like it's kind of slow. You don't really look to do it, but in this instance, saving it's not a terrible idea. It also just gives you, if you never find powder, gives you a way of doing powder for a little bit of safety later on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the utility of that fake powder glitch, using it on anti-fairies for safety, is more valuable than the other check that's out of logic. But looks like Osse gets the morph ball there at Agina. Hopefully, ARealCutie gets there not too far into the progression chain, because that's an easy one to leave behind. Flute makes it a lot easier to get to, but he still might opt to do some of those early Brinstar checks first.
Yeah, I mean, we do have the flute, so Cutie might be a little more inclined to do Agina than he normally would. But at this point, the seed kind of seems like it really wants to be doing those retro checks. So he may just opt after this is kind of like the last big area. May do like that Norfair routing I was suggesting, or may just go straight to, just straight to Brinstar right now.
It's like Osse taking a little bit extra time in this cave. It's one of the simpler dark rooms, but it's still tough with nothing to help you navigate. But he gets through it really nicely.
Yeah, I've gotten in the habit a little bit of putting that check off if you have flute. With the flute spot, you can come up here whenever you want, just like normal. It's a little bit slower because you have to save and quit and then flute up here. But it's a fairly long check actually, especially without a guide or anything. And flute can be really late in these seeds. We've all seen the lower Norfair flutes.
Or Ganon's Tower, even.
Yeah, it can be. There's only 3 dungeons with dark rooms.
Oh, you mean Lamp? Sorry, I thought you...
Lamp. I was like, yeah, no, it can be Ganon's Tower in vanilla now because of dark room or fire rod logic, but it can't in this. Right. I believe is correct.
Sorry, I thought you meant the flute could be there, and maybe I misheard.
No, I was saying skip the old man if you have flute and don't have lamp, just because it's a long check. Yeah, so as soon as you find that morph ball, Screw Attack goes from being annoying to being pretty much the greatest thing you can find. So now that Osse has morph, and it does look like Cutie, at least for now, has skipped out on that Agina check. Doesn't look like he's resetting right away. Oh, he's just coming back out. Okay.
Yeah, he didn't do the old man yet. He might be doing that or checking Spectacle Rock. It's a bit of a long walk, but definitely makes sense to check this before resetting if you're going to do the Brinstar checks, just because it could always be that morph ball.
Yeah, right now... Yeah, Cutie is still guideless for that old man cave. It's a little tricky to do without any guide whatsoever, unless you have a good setup for it. So again, with that flute, he may just opt to put it off. It looks like he is fluting. Okay. And yeah, we are. So he's going to be getting his morph ball now. So just a little inefficiency on that routing.
Yeah, we'll see if this pushes him to do Brinstar first, with Osse being able to check those high jump items really quickly. Going into Kraid's lair early makes a lot of sense, especially with only 5 power bombs. You can do everything over here, Kraid's lair, with 5 easily, and probably going to get something along the way somewhere to speed up Brinstar or Wreck Ship or any of those other areas that are accessible.
Yeah, this is going to be surprising to a lot of people, but it's surprising that that Osse got the quick kill. He's been struggling with that, so was able to get it today. I'm sure he would have preferred to get it in his RBO run, but here we are. It's because he doesn't have high jump. That's why. Thank God he didn't check Chaucer.
And so we are getting that divergence. ARealCutie saving, quitting, and then resetting to the ship. So we go through Brinstar. We'll see what he goes to do from here. Brinstar with 5 power bombs is not very good, so it seems unlikely that he'll go with that.
Yeah, he does have screw attack. So screw attack lets you do some of the things you'd have to do with power bombs. You could like screw attack through the golden mock ball room. That helps you out there. I know he has been opening with Wreck Ship first lately. We'll see if he continues with that now. Again, like Osse is also fully capable of doing this, but Osse just might be a little less inclined to do it. It is in logic with the speed booster.
Yeah, and he's got, I think it's 2 reserves plus the 2 energy tanks, so for ARealCutie, that's more than enough.
Yeah, this is for him, it's basically being invincible. Which I'm sure I just cursed him. Yeah, Cutie, one of the top ARealCutie players, so he's used to doing this on just 1 energy tank coming in here, not a lot of health. If not only that, the amount of missiles he has is very comfortable for him compared to what he's used to.
So he is having a little trouble getting this block out of the way, trying to save that power bomb, but the camera's just not aligned right and is not hitting it.
Yeah, I think he's just, I guess, going a little too slow here. At this point, I would just power bomb it. There's plenty of places to farm power bombs in Wreck Ship. You'd have to maybe like reload a room once or twice, but the amount of time he spent there, just a little unfortunate. Again, he does this most of the time, so he kind of knows how to manage his power bombs in this situation. Yeah, you can see Cutie just making use of what to him is extra health, just doing that Shine Spark instead of trying to conserve for Fantoon. Not really scared at all. He's still got those reserve tanks on top of his health, and screw attack, so he's in pretty good shape here.
Yeah, and likely due to the low power bomb count, Osse transitions back to Link to the Past. The only thing of note in Kraid's lair was the bottle. Sick Kid had nothing, so he goes to fill up the bottle, which is a nice call. Lets him turn in the mushroom and fill it up at the same time. Really nice efficiency. Looks like he's going to get his high jump boots too, which will be really nice for movement.
Yeah, high jump speed for both these players. Like I said, two really good SM players. So we're going to see some pretty good movement from both of these guys. I'm sure both of them are happy to have it. The worst is speed without. I mean, I guess that's not the worst. Literally having nothing, but your jumping is just so terrible with speed and no high jump that it can be pretty rough. So both in their comfort zone with both of those movement items. Yeah, we'll see if Osse decides to, again, if he kind of knows Cutie's tendencies, see if he decides to follow him into Wreck Ship to kind of defend against Cutie's play, or Cutie's likely play. Still, 5 power bombs for him too. Probably also wants to avoid the burn loop, and he's also already done Kraid. It does look like he is going to be doing at least Gauntlet. Hopefully, he does have the screw attack again, so that'll save him some. But he's definitely going to want to run into at least 1 power bomb pack here. Because that screw and speed, so yeah, he can. There's a bunch of places that would normally require a power bomb. He can just save 1.
Right. Yeah, I want to point out that was a really nice air Doppler from ARealCutie to finish off the 2-round. Probably pretty standard for him, but certainly impressive to see nonetheless.
Yeah, you're not going to see too many people in this tournament pull that off. It's just outstanding, very, very incredibly difficult kill to do. It's just hundreds or thousands of hours of practice on that boss paying off.
Alright, so it looks like Osse is committing to the Brinstar checks. That's where he would have continued right if he was going to do wreck ship at this point. Probably checked bomb trees on the way, but he's going to probably do full Brinstar loop, come back up through Blue Bryn.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of. I mean, you don't want to do it in fire power bombs, so you're kind of forced into it. Like, there's not really a lot of options here.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's nice is that he can refill a couple places down in the Edacoons area. The fact that he has speed means he's going to want to check Waterway anyway, so he'll be able to refill back up there.
And then
he's another pack, yep, so he'll be in good shape.
Oh, yeah, okay, we're fine.
Yep.
It always seems like it happens to me when I put off Brinstar. I was like, well, I don't want to do it because of low power bomb, and then there's just 100 down there, so like, my opponents who may have done it didn't get punished for it. I'm just like, well, great. Oh, Cutie having a little trouble in the spiky room of death. Yeah, it does take the. Yeah, he took the. I saw him make a double back and you know taking the save. Oh, and apparently Osse got Moon Pearl at early supers. That's a nice payoff for him.
Oh, I didn't even see that. The top item, the supers item. Okay. Yeah, not any way to really use that for probably a while with no glove, no hammer, no Aghanim access, but definitely something they're going to want to have.
Yeah, it's always weird getting that first, especially when you're kind of down to like your last like area. It's like, well, like I need that, but that doesn't help right now, so. Cutie going for a pretty tricky bounce ball there. Missed it, but fortunately did not need the item there, so just going to reset out of it. It's actually an incredibly difficult bounce ball. I'm surprised he went for it. You were a very nice attic there.
Yeah, that was a fantastic way to clear out those enemies. Meanwhile, Osse does nail the Mission Impossible.
I think that was like the strat that he posted on his YouTube not too long ago, where he figured like out if you just wait, it kind of lines up the enemies in the room. Did he just turn down super missiles at only 10?
Apparently.
It's a little surprising. At 10, like you still, we don't have charge beam. We're still looking, we need to kill Ridley. May need to kill Mother Brain without charge beam. So surprising to skip out on missiles this early when you only have 10. I mean, it's a really nasty spot for them, but still, I would have ended up getting them there. And I didn't see what the wreck ship reserve item was. His screen lagged a little bit.
Yeah, I guess if it's important, he'll pick it up and we'll hopefully catch it then, since he does have speed.
Yeah, I guess the scout is still faster, so I just end up doing it, just getting it if I have speed on him and scout it.
think it's the same kind of concept. It's obviously not as dangerous, but similar to the E-Tank, the wreck ship E-Tank, where if it ends up being nothing, it's a little faster to scout it, but if it's something you want, it's obviously faster not to, so
Right.
both are valid strategies. Yeah, and the book was up at the Sky Missiles too, so that puts, at least gives these guys entrance into Desert Palace. That's definitely not anything they want to do right now.
Yeah, that was our one light world pendant, so probably not going to be chasing that too soon. We also don't have a fire source, a weapon, or gloves, so yeah,
or boots.
not really what you want.
Which so far has been the only progression here in Wreck Ship. Or possible progression.
Yeah, conversely, if there is something back here, it's probably the best bet for Cutie, because Osse may be inclined to skip this. Honestly, if Cutie, for Cutie's sake, he wants something like, he doesn't want a big piece of progression. He wants like a small piece, like a medallion or something that's, you know, locking Osse off, and Osse's got to search the whole world for it. Looks like there was something here. Oh, there's the glove. Okay. So still decent for Cutie, but you know the seed will force Osse to come here sooner than later. You know, if there probably again the best case scenario for Cutie is if there's a glove somewhere else, and there's not much behind Mitts that Osse can maybe last location that.
Yeah, glove and probably hammer, so that Osse still has Dark World access and makes it more likely that he effectively full clears Dark World rather than going to Wreck Ship to get his second pair of gloves.
Yeah, I mean it's gonna be pretty hard pressed for Osse to skip that, mostly because like generally if you're gonna skip Wreck Ship, it's if you get like something big up front. That kind of pay you off. Did Cutie soft? Oh, that's yeah. He didn't have any power bombs, so he soft locked himself in the moat. I think that is a really big. I mean, really big time loss. Cutie's just gonna be able to grab the progression items he needs, so he's gonna need to get book again, and he's also going to get those gloves, obviously. And I don't think there's anything on Grav. But yeah, that hurts for Cutie, unfortunately. We do get to see this this attic again, so that's nice.
Ooh, not quite as good this time, but
all right, well, never mind.
Commentator's curse a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Cutie.
Opting to go back and get that power bomb drop to make sure things don't go wrong again.
Yeah, it may be that glove is our progression. That gives us logical access to back of... Oh, well, there's the other one. All right, so that's Dark World. So yeah, that looks like that's going to be the answer. And I think Osse's going to be more or less forced to come in here into Wreck Ship. Really just because there's not many other places for us to go. Osse forgetting his speed, I think. Coming back down to do this check. Criteria.
I thought he maybe was just farming up a little extra, but that's possible that he forgot that he has speed. Because it definitely... How many E-tanks does it take to get up here? It's about a full E-tank, right? To get up to the Criteria Supers item?
I'm never remember. I want to say it's like 180 or something. I'm sure there's a couple smart people lurking in chat. I'm sure I'm about to get corrected.
I mean, you certainly can get yourself in trouble if you go up there and don't have enough health to damage boost across the spikes. He doesn't have any way to get over there with like grapple or space jump, for example. So.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Like I said, there's a bunch of smart people in chat, but Maniacal was the one who decided to answer. He said 120.
Gotcha. Plus the spike damage, you're forced to take at least one hit.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's where I was getting 180, adding in the spike hit already. You want to be at 180 health to be able to do it. Yeah, so both finding that glove, but that singular glove really not helping either one. I mean, again, it's like back of escape is the only thing it puts in logic. So I don't expect Osse to really chase that hard. He's probably just going to go ahead and do Wreck Ship and get his other glove, which will be his Dark World access. Cutie does have an extra power bomb now, so he won't get soft locked. And of course, he makes it this time with the bounce ball. I think, yeah, Cutie not paying quite attention to his health. Yeah, unfortunately, Cutie just having basically just a couple of brain farts here early, honestly, and it's costing him pretty big chunks of time, which is just something you can't afford against a guy like Osse.
Ooh, Osse landed his power bomb too early. He's losing a little time here, but yeah, you're absolutely right that any other big mistakes, RealCutie's going to have to kind of count on Osse to make those. You never want to be in a situation counting on your opponent to make mistakes.
Yeah, except again with Osse, he kind of needs to make one or two mistakes against you to have a chance. That maybe not a mistake like that, but like a routing mistake or just missing a key item. But yeah, Osse's just incredibly well-rounded. He's good at both of the games. Speedrunning both of them. Is in the multi-category tournament for SM, did well in that. He was in the All Dungeons tournament, did well in that. And then he's pretty good at the randomizers themselves, which is just a skill unto itself. So he's a very formidable opponent, number 1 seed for a reason.
It looks like we're gonna have a bit of a time until we see anything new, since Osse's going into his Fantoon fight. Pretty much, like he said, going to be forced to full clear this Wreck Ship with no real direction otherwise. While ARealCutie goes through the Brinstar loop, each to get the respective glove that they're missing, and ARealCutie will be grabbing his Moon Pearl as well. Coming up here, it's early supers. So, Duck, do you have any guesses or predictions where you think these runners are going to go as soon as they do get that Dark World access? Do you think they're going to take the same choice?
It's Mitts, so they kind of have to take the same choice, don't they? There's really only one way in. So I mean, they still don't have a weapon though. Is the interesting thing. So
yeah,
I guess going down to Village of Outcasts, Osse is going to get a 3-cycle Fantoon here.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, because, I mean, Skull Woods, you can usually get an item in the front. Not always, but you can generally depend on getting at least one of the items.
Oh, well, I guess I am all about the commentator's curse today, aren't I? It's a 4-cycle for Osse here. 4-cycle and a rain phase. It's going to be a quick rain phase, though. He got that. He got that great kick, quick kill, and I guess just Fantoon is paying him back for that. So I guess the real question: what am I going to curse these guys with next? Just. Q's health's a little low here, though. He is going to run into this E-tank up on this top Burning Star missile, though, which is pretty much the perfect place for it, honestly. You can see Cutie was opting out of the shine there. Does luck into this E-tank, though, so he would have been fine to do it, but obviously he didn't know that. Osse's also going to be opting for the save scum. I've been skipping the scum if I've got like really good equipment. Ooh, and Cutie getting the Mission Impossible strat. Nicely done by him. Does save a power bomb. Honestly, one of the more important reasons for it in Randomizer. I think that's really only worth it if you use Moonwalk, because you need Moonwalk to set up the Spore Swan wraparound. Like Cutie's going to do it, and you can't do that without Moonwalk. We'll see seeing here in a shortly. Yeah, Ossie taking that final jump a little bit safer. The jump is still incredibly difficult with high jump and speed booster, so nicely done.
Did ARealCutie just moonfall through that door
Probably.
here? Does that
Probably.
even take time? I don't think I've seen that one.
Yeah, Cutie can pretty much just moonfall on command like it's nothing.
I mean, I'm sure if he's doing it, it's saving time. It's just an interesting.
I wouldn't. I wouldn't go that far.
No? Okay.
It's if he's doing it. If it's a speedrun, sure. In here, he'll do it because he thinks it looks cool.
All right. At this point, I'm guessing. I wouldn't be surprised if Ossie did skip these supers, but you could make an argument for either way. It looks like he is going to pick them up. These are the ones that Cutie skipped. Even to being at 30 at this point, Ossie's still going to go ahead and pick them up. Like you mentioned, Duck, that there's no guarantee these guys will get charged at any point in the run. If they don't get charge beam, if they don't get charge or a ton of super missiles on the way, they might have to go a little bit out of the way to pick up some later. So,
yeah, definitely more defensible if Ossie decided to skip. Like I said, those are fairly annoying to get. You either have to wait forever to get them or damage boosts, and we don't have a lot of health right now. Although it's not like there's anything else that really needs to be done at this point. And like it's still wrong to see they have 65 missiles, 35 or 30 supers. If Ossie skipped it, it'd have been, I think, a little bit more defensible than Cutie opting out of them at that point. But even for Cutie, it's still very early on the seed. You're likely to head into stuff. But yeah, I know, like, you could find Varia next, right, and want to be doing lower Norfair, in which case you really want to be getting every super you can get your hands on. Cutie does have 30 now, though, so it's not really going to be an issue.
Yeah, with 30 and then screw attack to not even have to think about any of the other enemies. Screw attack and speed booster. You don't need to use supers on anything like the metal pirates or the gold pirates even.
Yeah, and after all of that, we're going to be getting to our Titan's Mists pretty much on top of each other. So despite Cutie's setback early on, going to be effectively tied here. I think Ossie didn't go into Eastern, right? I don't think he did. He just checked Sasha.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if Ossie is ahead of some checks here effectively, but I don't really think he's going to be done a little bit sooner. But it's really only going to be 20 to 30 seconds, I think, by the time they both get back to Link to the Past. I think Cutie, what he may do is like not check Bomb Chorizo. Although there's not really like, I'll save it to like when I do Wreck Ship, but Cutie's already done that, so he can't.
Yeah.
Cutie getting a nice little speedball here to leave. Oh, crate, right? That's the difference. The crate area.
Yeah.
So
crate kill.
Crate kill, and I believe all of that red tower area. So, but there's nothing there. If Cutie can avoid going there may be not too big of a deal. It's a little weird of a segment to avoid. Probably the bigger thing is if Cutie can clear off X-ray, maybe do it with like space jump or something. Osse's pretty much going to have to, might be, inclined to come back there at some point. In which case he'll be going through most of those rooms again, cutting into this effective lead.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised Osse's going down Red Tower here. It does make sense, though. It's not what I would have predicted, but these 3 checks are really quick, and he's going to not have a good time to do it later. But yeah, like you mentioned, he's going to have some trouble with X-Ray. Although the energy tank there means he should be able to get it with some damage boosts that I'm sure he's comfortable with.
Yeah, Osse. Yeah, in fact, I know for a fact Osse does the the damage boost. Probably do it on this health level, especially against a guy like Cutie. I really don't want to abandon much in SM.
Yeah, when you look at his health, he does have 2 reserves. I don't know if they're both full, but I would assume so. I haven't seen him pop a reserve at any point, so kind of have to assume they're full from a save and refill at the ship. So he's effectively got 6 E-tanks.
Yeah, I've definitely been playing Osse and found like something later at X-Ray and just giving him the mental GG because I knew he had that like 40 minutes ago. Yeah, he was going to be getting it right here. That's why he's taking off this high jump and speed. He's pretty much taking off everything. Basically, the setup is designed for you doing it with nothing. So it's just the easiest way to do it is with nothing. So he just takes off all that stuff because it requires some pretty specific setups. There probably are setups for the other ways, but just doesn't want to bother with them. And we're going to see the downs. Did he save? Because like getting back from this is actually pretty slow.
I don't believe he did.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised like a save at like Red Burn Star or the ship, and if he found nothing in these locations, then just reset out of this. He is going to get the damage boost. Even if he missed that, though, he did have high jump. He could have just used some of his health to get back up there. This would be in logic with hard logic anyways, so... those almost looked like silvers to me. It must have just been an arrow capacity.
No, that was a sword was... Wasn't that a sword?
On Cutie's side? Yeah, but I'm saying on Osse's.
Oh, no, that was just an arrow capacity upgrade.
Yeah, I saw the arrow, and for a second I thought it was silvers, but... Although even honestly with... Well, I guess he is walking out. If you reset... it almost would be worth it to come back out. And yeah, Osse did use some of his extra health basically to... it's only really slow if you have to do the damage boost on the way back too when you're really low in health. So did make advantage of some of his extra health there to get back.
Yep. And there's our first Dark World map check. We see the red crystals at Ice Palace and Misery Mire, pendants at Swamp Palace, and the green one, of course, we knew about at Turtle Rock.
Yeah, that sword grab is actually really good for Cutie because now he can dive straight into Thieves Town. And when we didn't have a sword, we couldn't do Skullwoods or do Thieves Town. Now we can dive right into Thieves Town. Cutie's got a lot of health here. He's got blue mail. Shouldn't have any issues with this dungeon with just the fighter sword.
Yeah, the only real problem with it is the big chest not having the hammer for that. Means it's essential with that item and you isolate it, but if it's a crystal, I certainly agree with the mentality that once you check this Village of Outcasts, these 3 checks here that are really quick, you go into the dungeon and beat it anyway. If you have to come back, you have to come back, but you might as well get it done and know if there's an item there or not.
I'm not taking this done first. This baiting from the crowd. If I'm going to complain about the Cutie's chess game being unawesome, I'm going to be complaining about a lot of Cutie's game, so we'll just let that one go. But yeah, like the one thing I could see for delaying Thieves Town here is we are going to have to come back for Skull Woods. So maybe, since you do have to come back to this area no matter what, maybe what you could potentially do is, because you don't want to abandon the Thieves Town big chest, just put off Thieves Town and then try to look at doing it with Skull Woods later on. This is an interesting time to logic break here. I guess Osse may be thinking about The fact that he doesn't have a sword or anything like that, so maybe want to put off Dark World just a little bit.
Yeah, that's what I can think of. Probably not wanting to double dip Thieves Town or potentially even Skull Woods, because this is 5 items he can get here. Well, 4. He can't get the one on the ledge with his equipment, the waterfall ledge, that is.
Yeah, I mean it's not.
The other 3.
It's not too bad of flute. Usually, you see runners do like either they can do it this early with like Moon Pearl, and then just do it with like an Ice Rod Cave check or something.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little odd just to see someone just decide to do the fake flipper play, but I think maybe because he's completely weaponless, really doesn't want him to dive in the Dark World. Not so much because he's scared or anything, just because he can't really knock off any of his big objectives. But I figure he'll probably do Back of Escape too, and we'll stumble onto that sword and probably give a little sigh that he sequence breaks for end up just being something right in logic that he wanted.
Yeah, a little surprised here that ARealCutie is doing these overworld checks before at least dipping the front of Thieves Town. The first 4 checks are really quick. That can give you some information at the back. So if he's worried about that big chest, I think it's still pretty free to do the first 4, and then you can death warp out.
Yeah, it's still a little time. Again, if you're just kind of like hoping maybe to spike the fire rod or something and come back here in a little bit, unless the fire rod is specifically in Thieves Town or it's very very late, or Thieves Town has something that's blocking the rest of progression. It's not too bad. So maybe do all this stuff. Worst case scenario, you just got to loop back around. So I think this is defensible. Like the first 4 makes a little bit of sense if it's like a pendant or something. And it's like you're just not planning on coming back in at all. Oh well.
All right. Well, that is the one logical check that Osse just did there with his fake flippering with the gloves. That's in logic.
Yeah, that's it's pretty interesting. So yeah, we do. Dragon is in logic with that speed booster, so we can full clear completely all at once. There's Cutie's charge room and his Cane of Samaria and his cape. The Cutie starter pack in Hype Cave.
Yeah, looks like Osse took just a second to pause and think about, do I want to pursue that gravity suit? Do I want to go to Dark World? Do I want to keep looking for a weapon?
Yeah.
I imagine we'll see some Dark World before Meridia. Meridia is just pretty slow. Even though there's so many checks, it's kind of spread out enough that Dark World just makes a lot more sense right now, I think, here.
Yeah, we might even see a Kieran bomb jump here to get over to the backdoor Meridia. You can check off some of the North Dark, Hyrule checks, get that catfish, and then maybe do a backdoor Meridia, something along those lines.
Looks like he is opting to jump into the Mire area instead first. We'll get some information on the Mire medallion. 2 very quick checks. He's gonna, I'm sure, at least pop in to check the screw attack location. And that looks like Bombos.
Yeah, I think Osse realizing he's like, it's Bombos, and then he kind of did the mental math of like, I don't actually know if this is a crystal yet or not. So doing his map check here as well. We do have a potential hover seed alert. Both these guys definitely can hover. I think it's been a hot minute since Cutie has done a hover, but if it turns out to be a hover seed, Cutie's going to definitely be motivated to go for it. Practice or no practice.
Yeah. Really surprised Osse didn't check screw attack while he was right there. It's a quick in and out. Obviously, it's out of logic without the Varia suit, but he's got gravity and screw attack, so it's super quick. I'm not sure if that was a routing decision or just something he forgot that it's available right there.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he does. He could have even killed GT there, honestly. So, I mean, the only thing there is, he's done kind of all of the checks you'd want to do from the ship. So he did do like a reset. You can't really do any routing efficiency with that. So maybe that's why he was disinclined to do it. Would probably prefer just to go in. Because he does reset out of that, right? He's got to do all that, reset out, and then come back to the pass. It's kind of a little on the slow side.
Yeah.
And with it being out of logic, it's not that big of a deal at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I was expecting at least just the screw attack check, since you can just pop back into the portal from there to Link to the Past again and avoid that reset.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, even
it was
that
out of
is,
logic, so
yeah, the transitions between games are fairly slow, so want to avoid doing them as much as possible.
and Cutie has a little bit easier time here of the mummy statue room, since he's got that cane. He can lay down the block and speed up a little bit. And we're putting that to use right away. Not that Ossie's gonna struggle too much with that. It's a fairly routine room, but the short sword and the berries can be a little bit annoying sometimes. Oh, he's
Yeah,
opting not to check it, but
Yeah,
it
it's
should
not
miss it
even,
back, though.
Yeah, it's not too bad. It's kind of slow. Again, can't do this. This is a crystal, so he knows he's going to come back here later. So unlikely to hurt him too much. So I think it's a smart play right there. If it is anything, we'll probably be able to get it later on as well.
Alright, nothing on the bumper ledge. That cape's not going to be useful. Well, useful for progression, might be useful for safety from either of our runners.
Yeah, I think, I mean, Ossie got kind of lucky, honestly, with that fake flute, or the fake flipper play, just because, like, you know, we got the 2 gloves. Really, the only next bit of we did get the cane, but that's not immediate progression. The next bit of progression actually looks like it might be that gravity suit, in which case, if the answer wasn't Dark World at all, it wasn't the fact that you needed 2 gloves, you just needed 1 glove. So that's a real tricky bit of logic to read. And again, I think Ossie mostly did it just because he was kind of on that sword hunt and kind of just backed into it. Cutie getting his sword right off the bat. Probably not really thinking Zora right now. I wouldn't be surprised if he puts that fairly late in the chain. If he does, he'll do the fake flipper too, and get all of the stuff. Not that there really was anything at those other spots, but
yeah. Looks like just 1 item at the front 4 of Thieves Town, which means there's a pretty good chance we're gonna have an item in the big chest, which is not what the runners want to see. But it is interesting to note that since they have the small key, it basically makes it so blind is not hammer locked, which rarely comes up, but blind could lead to progression that ends up being the hammer or is in front of the hammer. With their options, they don't have a lot of good dense locations to check anyway, but it makes it even a little bit more valuable to complete the dungeon, even if you're going to be potentially orphaning that big chest.
Cutie having a little trouble here. And then Ossie, that had been intentional, right? I didn't quite. Yeah, okay. I'd have been shocked if Ossie died in Thieves Town with blue mail and like 8 hearts.
Yeah, if you were going to on accident, it wouldn't be there. So.
Yeah, I wasn't looking exactly what he was doing. I just saw the death. All of a sudden, I was like.
Yeah, I was watching Cutie's screen to make sure he made it through the hellway, and all of a sudden I heard the beeps. But definitely taking advantage of that cape. That's really heads up that sometimes you see runners that really try to push what they can do. ARealCutie, knowing it's better to take a tiny bit of safety to make sure he gets these checks done, doesn't take the death. You have the cape, you might as well use it.
Yeah, Cutie's definitely a solid Link to the Past player. Definitely is improved over the last couple months, but like definitely knows that's not his strength game. Really relying on Super Metroid. So I've talked to him about like he's seeing like runners skipping like a Link to the Past hearts and everything, which is like he's like I'm gonna grab every one of those hearts. I'm gonna grab cape. I'm gonna grab bottles. Like the worst thing he could do in a Link to the Past is die. So he's really looking to avoid that. He's not going to. I think especially for some of the top of Link to the Past runners, or people who feel comfortable with it, just be like, I know how to do this. I don't need to worry about safety. And then you make one wrong input and you're dead, and all of a sudden you've lost 3 minutes. Or I've definitely been guilty as such. So Cutie's main goal is just to avoid that situation. Do everything in his power to just not die.
I was going to ask you, Duck, which of our runners' dig patterns do you prefer?
I wasn't really looking at the dig patterns.
Okay.
Like, I don't even have the world record anymore. I can't even make as the world record holder jokes. So
That's the really fortuitous fairy drop from that Stalfos for ARealCutie. So he's going to have no trouble with the blind fight.
I thought you were going to say it was fortuitous. I didn't have the world record anymore, so I couldn't make annoying jokes. Well, thank God for everyone involved.
It looks like Cutie had the first 3 hits at least down to the script. Got a little off in the second phase, but no problem with all the extra health. Only
Yeah,
a couple seconds.
Cutie is kind of what I recommend to new runners. The thing with the blind phase is every hit you get on script makes the fight easier. So there's no point in not like at least attempting to learn the script, because you can just kind of add 1 hit on at a time. The first 4 are basically completely free. Just have to stand above him, get the first 3, and then poke him when the second phase starts. And then the 5th hit is pretty tricky. But even if you miss it slightly, you've already got 4 hits into the fight. And then you can just do what kind of Cutie did. He had a blue mail, had plenty of health, was just able to kind of tank his way through the rest of the fight, and only really lost a couple seconds over like an actual on-script fight. Every time I look over, Azure is saying something that's making me groan.
Yeah, so looks like we didn't get any real progression there in Thieves Town. And there is an item in the big chest. We'll have to keep note of that for later on when the runners do pick up the hammer. But looks like Osse potentially going into Meridia.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, he does have the gravity suit. He's already done everything else in this area, so that's what it's going to have to be. Definitely makes sense. He's got some one-offs. Some things like Eastern Palace that he could dip without the bow, or Desert Palace that he could dip without the ability to clear it, but this certainly makes the most sense.
Yeah, Meridia is interesting in the SM routing in that, like, there's a bunch of items in here, so it's really dense. You don't want to come in here. But like the routing of it is just terrible. If you ever played like the hundo of this, like the route through Meridia like loops in back in on itself like 3 times. Oh, there's the hammer.
Takes out immediately.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, he has speed. Oh, there's Ice
Nice
Rod.
rod.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense going here. Like I said, I think Osse just, I think he did that fake flipper for unrelated reasons, and then just kind of stumbled upon Gravity Suit in kind of a counterintuitive location. I think what Q's doing makes sense too. Kind of has that book, just decide to kind of chase that because that's a couple checks he can do. The fact that you got both clubs effectively simultaneously, like they were minutes apart in the seed, but really in the same sphere. Like you don't think, you think like it's Dark World. You wouldn't think like, oh, it's the one location that just having one glove unlocks for me.
Yeah.
Despite the fact you can do those other checks, it makes it at least a little bit more attractive. But like thinking like, oh yeah, it's definitely Zora, because it can't. Even if you do find something in like the waterfall cave or something, that means you have progression somewhere else, because that can't be gotten right now.
Yep, and there's the second item in Desert Palace, just the Spazer. Potentially a little bit helpful just for higher damage output, especially if Plasma doesn't get found. That's going to be really nice. If they don't get a full 60 or more super missiles on Mother Brain, but not really what you want to find. Space Jump, meanwhile, is a nice find. So Meridia coming up big already with a lot of things.
Yeah, where's Cutie going?
He's still got the red tower checks, I believe, right?
Oh, yeah, he does. He does. Yeah, so
He's gonna go down that way, clear out Kraid's lair.
yeah, it's always unfortunate when you're playing a guy like Osse, and then on top of that, Osse gets lucky. It just kind of feels fundamentally unfair. Because like before the race, it's like, I just need to play well, have Osse have a little bit of bad luck, and then not only do you not get good luck, your opponent gets good luck on top of it. Just is can be pretty devastating. But yeah, well, same with Meridia. Like with that gravity suit makes so much sense. There's so much stuff here. You kind of want to avoid it, but it's just so check heavy at this point. I really don't see how you can really put it off, especially Osse having speed booster. Everything in here is in logic. Osse, is he just completely just not going to do the sand pit?
I guess he's going to do the hundo route and do aqueduct and sand pits on his way back, which I definitely like the sand pits afterwards. There's no reason for him to take the portal back to Link to the Past out of here. So you're not really losing out on much to do this like you would in 100%, where you go through Batwoon and you come back around through Aqueduct, do the sand pits. But a little surprised he didn't do Aqueduct first, just for it's such immediate progression. Is that an E-tank he skipped already?
Yeah, it is. Oh, let's see if he's going back for it.
Going back for it. All right. Yeah, with no Varia suit, I think that's really smart to go back and pick that up in case that never comes up on path. That could potentially be an item that he's able to skip. Honestly, both these runners definitely capable of beating the game with no Varia suit. And ARealCutie having a little trouble. The damage boost looked like here at X-Ray, so he's trying to do a very tough short charge.
Yeah, I didn't see what was in Precious Missiles, but I assume it was nothing, since we just dipped right out of it.
Yeah, I think it was rupees.
I feel like Osse got that on screen for literally 1 frame, and I didn't see it because we're getting 30 frames per second restreams.
Yeah, it was red. I think it was rupees. I just saw the color. I didn't see what it was. Very nice. ARealCutie does get that. That was really impressive short charge.
Yeah, Cutie can pull off some pretty crazy short charges. Speaking of short charging, Osse is in his Dragon fight.
ARealCutie does have a couple reserves. He's got to be very careful. Okay, he's going to be able to Crystal Flash.
Yeah, he pretty much had to in the situation he was in. So we did get that hammer. That doesn't get us too much right now.
It really doesn't.
I don't think it gets us anything right now.
Hammer pegs
it does
down big chest.
Yeah, and it gives us access to pod and catfish.
Well, I believe we already had catfish with the mitts.
How?
Oh, okay, never mind. That's not logical access, right? Because you would have had to current jump, like you mentioned before.
Yeah, that's why I was thinking about the current jump, because I was thinking, yeah, probably Meridia, maybe, especially, you get exactly hammer or something like that, right? Or flippers, where it just wants you to go to catfish next. Maybe you can just couple those in together. And I honestly just prefer the backdoor routing. I just find it a little cleaner.
Yeah, I know. I've definitely heard arguments for both, depending on your equipment, especially with like speed and high jump and everything. Going in through the front of Meridia is a little bit less bad. And I think I think Cutie mentioned that the other day. I think he said that he prefers the front with, at least with certain item sets. Not sure entirely what that is, but he might do the same thing. Front of Meridian.
It's probably high jump speed and
Yeah.
gravity, obviously. But just he's comfortable doing that movement. I mean, you always get the skip pop move when you're coming from the back, especially if it's late. Doing back makes a lot because it just could be if your item is on Dragon, you can just leave.
Right.
Right. And like you always have that option with backdoor. You could have, maybe if a hammer was on Dragon, well, I guess that particularly didn't give us much today, but if it gives you something big, that might have been the only thing in Meridia, and then you can always just decide to like come back and clean up with like a front door or something later. Plasma is in logic with this screw attack.
Yep, and with space jump to get out safely without any difficult tricks.
Right. Yeah, I always forget about the getting out part with it being in logic.
Yeah. I missed what it was, but I guess it wasn't important.
It was arrows or an arrow capacity, one of the two.
Okay.
Garbage, whatever it was.
ARealCutie gets his Kraid quick kill. So luckily, neither of our runners have any trouble with that today.
Did he get something else in this loop? Generally, when I do this routing, I make a save, and if I don't get anything in like the sandpit and plasma, I'll reset then.
There was an energy tank in the sandpit that he might want to keep. I think the other one was just rupees. Well, he got Bombos at Aqueduct. Well,
yeah, Bombos.
Didn't save after that, so.
Oh yeah, okay.
So that makes sense. Didn't want to go back and save again and then reset.
Seeing some nice Hondo strats there for Cack Alley.
And basically, it looks like ARealCutie is going to be forced to go back to Link to the Past. Either that or do some hell runs out of logic.
But I wouldn't be surprised at the hell runs at this point. Honestly, like he's probably swimming a little bit. May just be thinking that he, needs to pull something off here. Definitely has the health, well, or at least the max health for it. Doesn't have the current health, but he's got plenty to Crystal Flash still. If nothing else, I fully expect the Ice Beam and Chrome Tower checks.
Yeah, that's potentially one of those slippery slope checks where if you're doing that, you might think, well, I guess I could just go down to Crocomire since it's the fastest way to get to Crocomire at any point in time.
I just looked at chat again, and sure enough. And I always get tricked into reading it too, because like, oh, Azur's a smart guy. I'm sure it's something thoughtful and insightful. Nope. Not even a little bit.
Yeah, with the sword in hand, Cutie's doing the old man rescue. With that for navigation, it's a lot safer and faster as well. And we'll see where Osse decides to go with that hammer find.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even be surprised if Cutie like forgot Zora. It's just again both those gloves. Your mind immediately goes like you'll think Zora like, okay, I got one glove. Like when you're doing your early light world checks, because you're always worried about that one location. But with just Dark World falling into your lap, I could definitely see how it could just completely slip your mind that, oh yeah, Zora is in logic right now.
Yeah, and the only other thing it really unlocked by itself with one glove would be the back of escape, and he did that immediately. So at this point, there's not other singular glove locked locations.
Yeah, it looks like Osse is going to be finishing up his Thieves Town right now. Not going to find anything except for maybe in that big chest. If there is something in that big chest, it's going to be looking pretty grim for Cutie already. He's really never going to be coming back to this chest, especially against a guy like Osse. I feel like Cutie's probably just going to make the mental play of if something is there, just it's going to be a GG. So
yeah, I agree. Looks like Cutie is setting up the fake flipper, so this is nice. Looks like he's not doing Hobo, or did he already do Hobo earlier? I don't think
He's
we
not
saw
going to
that
be
from him.
doing. I think it makes sense not doing Hobo. Hobo's pretty slow to check. It's just one thing. It's not in logic. Again, he is mainly looking for his next progression. I think Osse did it mainly because he was just looking for a weapon, something to kill blind with. And I ended up not doing blind anyway, just something to a couple other things.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're kind of doing this fake flipper with different purposes in mind. Cutie because he's so low on checks, he needs progression. Osse because he needed the weapon.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Cutie remembered it's always a green. He does have half magic already.
I mean, either way, that's really valuable, especially with the he's got the Cane of Samari that he might be able to use for some things, and he's got the cape. With green potions, you're going to be able to cape up and have an easy time with, Vitreous, with Ganon.
That's true. He does have the cape.
Fight. So,
and then
I like that play.
His strategy of just not dying in a Link to the Past with the cape, definitely. Sometimes you just need that much magic, honestly.
Yeah, and depending on your level of execution and your comfort with the game, like I think it's important to route in safeties just as much as routing in item checks. So instead of having to potentially later on flute to the potion shop and buy potions, he's just going to get one while he's right there in front of the waterfall cave. All right, with his gravity, I would expect nothing other than Meridia.
Yeah, there at this point, I mean, he's done everything more or less. I don't even think he's got anything left. Maybe Eastern, but definitely going to see the Meridia play here. It's going to pay, definitely going to pay off nicely.
Yeah, I think. Actually, I don't recall. Did Cutie check the Mire area yet? He might have that still, but that's just two
no,
logic checks and then the out of logic Lower Norfair. But obviously, yeah, Meridia is certainly a better option, I would say here. All right, just a piece of heart in the big chest, so that's good news for Cutie. He's not going to have to come back for that at any point in time. Good news for him, provided he does opt to skip it.
Yeah, I see no way he's not going to last location that. I don't think there's many scenarios in Cutie's mind where he thinks, unless he thinks Osse missed it and can make a Hail Mary play, maybe like towards like the mid of the seed, but I find it fairly unlikely he's going to come back there.
Duck, are you aware of why Cutie drained a little bit out of his reserve tank there?
I guess to make the shine? I didn't really quite catch it. It looks like there's plenty, though. I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, he must have gotten an energy drop like after that or something then.
Oh, was he short? Okay, I guess he was a little short of the Shine Spark up thermometer lead tank. I thought he had enough, but apparently not.
Yeah, that shine usually, in most situations, you're have plenty of health. So that's when I don't really know exactly what the correct number is. It's also not a particularly big one, so just even having a little bit generally are fine.
Yeah, and there's our Master Sword, which doesn't give us any immediate progression, obviously required for Ganon. That's at Hammer Pegs, so it looks like East Dark World is going to be probably the progression here. I'm sure that's where Osse's going to be heading next, especially with the flute in hand. He can just flute to 5. Or flute to 4 and check Pyramid Ledge on his way, possibly to Palace of Darkness.
Yeah, I still don't have that bow. We're definitely getting to the point where, even without the bow, Pod does have a lot of items. Just kind of going to be forced to do it without the bow. The nice thing is, if Pod it can be immediately bow locked, and it'll just kick you right out. So I mean, it could also be Eastern. Couple locations in there we haven't seen from either runner.
Or Spike Cave. That's where Osse's headed at the moment.
Yeah, this is a.
I like this check.
Yeah, does he? He must have the cape, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's got the cape, and this it might be. I know people talk about PRNG or things like that, but there's certainly been a trend lately, apparently, and it might just be something that's on his mind at Spike Cave. Not only that, it's a kind of far away one-off, so doing it just to get out of the way makes sense. Before dipping a dungeon you can't beat.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of in the case where he's out of good locations, and in a situation like that, it might be better to like put out something like Pod at that point, because it's it's a bunch of checks, but it's going to be the longest like group of checks at once, and you can't complete it and have to double dip it. So it almost makes sense to do some of the worst ones first, just to get them off your plate.
Yeah, interestingly enough, Ice Palace is the only dungeon that he can clear, even though it's out of logic. I think that's where he's going to be headed.
Yeah, actually, I really like this play. This used to be a play you would never make. Ice Palace is something that everyone would look to go mode. The two major reasons this is really good is Swamp Palace has a pendant, so we don't need the flippers ever if there's not progression in Swamp. And we can do Icebreaker now, which completely changes how this dungeon plays not in go mode. It went from like being more like Swamp Palace, where it was like the path to the boss is very straightforward and the items are basically just off by themselves, to with the Icebreaker, pretty much the items are. I mean, it's still a little extra walking, but it becomes more like a Turtle Rock type, where it's like most of the stuff is just in path. And you have to go like a little out of your way to it, but it doesn't really benefit all that much from being go mode now, as long as you have the cane. It's still a good one to go mode. You can just go straight to the boss and just open up none of these chests, but it's not nearly as big as a deal as it used to be. So with that cane, the meta on it has really changed, honestly.
Yeah, and we see Osse is opting to hit the switch there, so we won't have to worry about the key placement. If you have the big key in hand, it's a lot less important generally to hit that switch, since you know you're always going to be able to get through the big key door. But without it, this kind of can potentially save you from having to go to that iced tea room in search of the big key to get to the boss. So I think that's a smart choice.
Yeah, pretty nice Icebreaker by Osse. Again, did pretty well in the AD tournament, which that's one of the actual vanilla runs that's allowed in, so pretty experienced in doing that trick. Honestly, I think half the reason Cutie likes doing it forward is just because he wants to do full halfy.
Certainly is possible.
Sometimes I check the bot moon item first, so I can do a full halfy, even though it doesn't really make sense, because you can just do it on the way out. Yo, did we just get a Spazer special beam?
Sure did.
I will not say what the colloquial name of that one is, but we'll just leave it at Spazer special beam. Cutie having no problem with his Dragon.
Setting up the blue suit as well, so he can get the full halfy on the return as well.
Oh, did he grab the spike suit?
Or spike suit, yeah. Sorry, I always mix those up.
I get spike suit and flash suit confused. I think those are two different things. Or like spike suit is a subset of flash suit. Yeah, very nicely done. Just getting up there. Oh, spike suit is a method of, so it's like spin speed and like how we call everything spin speed, even though it's like technically some are hook speeds and stuff like that, or medallion speeds. Those are always fun. That makes sense. Thanks for clearing that up.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, looks like Ice Palace not coming up with anything, but it really doesn't feel too bad, I'm sure, for Aussie. I mean, you'd want to find something progressive in here. If nothing else, would help you pin down the location of the flippers or know how late what your finding is in the item chain. But it's still a crystal dungeon he's full cleared here, so
yeah, like I said, it was. I mean, it's out of logic. I mean, obviously the money item in here would have been bow to potentially do a single dip into pod, because right now the seed is screaming that to go to pod. So you know, with like I said, it's not. It is faster doing go mode, but it's not really the night and day as it used to be, and especially with flippers just being 100% skippable in the seed. Makes a lot more sense. Even in the pre-icebreaker days, honestly, this with swamp specifically being a pendant would have been a pretty decent play. But with having the red cane, I think it makes 100% sense. If you're clearing dungeons, you can't be doing things that wrong.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Aussie doing a nice job of mixing up sword slashes and spins and hammer hits. Get rid of cold stare. While Cutie is kind of stuck over here.
Yeah, like
Okay,
it's a really tiny gap through there.
Yeah, I would argue that he maybe should have gone around the top instead.
Oh, this is Cutie's first time in this area, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. Because he just
For a second, I thought I was worried he forgot about the boots / hook shot requirement to get into Mire. Now, a lot of times it doesn't come up. Usually, generally when you have entry access to Mire, usually you'll have one of those, and then sometimes you just go, "Oh right, I can't even get in there."
Yeah.
So he does have the bombos, yeah. So all that's preventing us from doing Mire right now is either the boots or that hook shot.
Right.
Which the funny thing is, neither of those are actually required for any other reason. And either one of those would actually allow us to also cross the Moldorm gap in a way that's not the bounce.
Right. I do want to point out, I'm a little confused by ARealCutie not checking the GT items before resetting. He went in to check screw attack and then reset immediately. That's really surprising. I'm guessing that is just a mental lapse.
Yeah,
You're gonna reset anyway. You might as well just go one room over and check them really quick.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think just a mental lapse there. I mean, he is in an unfortunate situation where he can't, doesn't really have the health to kill GT in the with the heated damage. So maybe that's what he was thinking. But yeah, probably just a mental lapse that more likely than not they're not going to have anything. Then you can just put them off. Or even like if you're going to reset up here, right? You could reset, take the ship, right? Get your health, and then you can come right back if it had something of high value right there. Okay, so we are bow locked in here. It looks like Aussie is going to decide to keep going. That lamp, all that lamp gets us is the one check in Eastern and Dark Cross. We actually haven't. Ooh, have we seen the front of Escape?
No, not yet.
Either one of these guys.
The back
that was a cheeky
ski.
Sorry, I was geeking out about that spin that Aussie did to bounce off the Molder, and that was pretty sweet looking.
Oh yeah, to get to the Bowlock side, yeah, that's.
Is this the unknown thing?
That's the optimal way to do it in a randomizer. Yeah, if you don't have the boots, especially, that's faster.
Sorry, you just said boots and randomizer. Or optimal randomizer. My eyes rolled back in my head a little bit. But yeah, we're gonna get this mimic clip. You know, I can see the argument either way for either dipping out here or continue on. I think the big thing is like the big key can be in so many weird locations that if you just go ahead and clear this, the redip of it is actually pretty quick. You just kind of come to the front and just go straight in and do it. And like you're gonna either death warp or mirror to the front. So really, the only thing you're losing is the walk back to pod later on the double dip. So
Right.
it's actually not the worst double dip dungeon to make. So it does make some sense just to go ahead and clear it. He may be able to spike something here. We know Bo's not going to be here, so he's not going to be able to finish this dungeon no matter what. Bo could be in Eastern, though, you know. I wouldn't be surprised that the Mirror go to Eastern right after this. If Bo's there, you know, he'd just come back and finish everything. Actually, that'd be funny if there was, like, progression here, and the Bo's in Eastern, right? So that's what it wants you to do logically. He might just miss the Bo at that point. And there's our Varia. Okay.
Yeah, that's our likely next progression then.
Yeah, I know a lot of players will think like, oh, if I kind of left front of escape off, maybe like do it with a mirror with a pyramid check or something. But we are getting, you know, kind of getting down to it. I think I would have honestly preferred the escape check before Osse did some of the stuff. You know, just being so early like that. We could have had. You remember when I misspoke and I said we could do Upper Norfair without Morph early? Well, apparently they could have if they just checked this. So I wasn't wrong. I was prescient.
Yeah, and I don't remember if we've seen the map or if the map is in Dark Cross. But either way, ARealCutie does not have the lamp and is going to opt to not check that and just dip straight into Upper Norfair, which makes sense.
Oh, right.
That Lower Norfair. That makes more sense even, actually. Now that he's got Space Jump, Screw Attack, Gravity, Varia. No reason not to do this.
Yeah, being pointed out, that technically wasn't Sphere 1, since you had to... it was past the first chest. So that is logically glove locked.
Oh, right.
So both the suits are behind that first glove. But obviously it's something you can just get right off the bat. You can come straight there as soon as you have any sort of form of weapon, including bombs.
Yeah, and Cutie didn't even take the refill of the ship after the reset earlier, which is pretty bold. So now he's going to check PT and then have to reset again and avoid wasting time farming up supers or a slow charge spazer only fight against Gold Chorizo.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're in the case that, like, if he did have full health here, I think this whole loop around is slow enough that it's still faster to fight him, even though it's pretty bad. I'm not sure. I mean, either one is pretty bad, especially on 30 supers. He's going to have to farm afterwards to make it up. So it's pretty bad. Like, honestly, in that situation, what I would have done is I just, assuming I didn't do the check earlier, I just wouldn't have fought GT because I had access with the flute. I can pretty much do it at any time.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to do the refarm with supers. I just leave it to later. Do it later on by itself. Progression is more likely to be in Lower Norfair itself than just those two locations. So just kind of playing the odds on which one I'm doing first.
But it looks like Cutie maybe he's misfluted to the wrong location. Okay. Yeah, that was just a misflute. I was gonna say you should be going back to Lower Norfair here, I think, to do the rest of this. With what he's got, there's no reason not to do Lower to Upper Norfair. If you are missing some of these items,
absolutely not.
It makes sense to do Upper Norfair first sometimes, but in his case, you'd want to do that.
Yeah, the big reason to do Lower Norfair first is that it's completely linear, and then it just spits you out into Upper Norfair. Again, most of the checks are just on the way. They're not really like big deviations from your main path. You can kill Ridley, and then if you do spike something big, you have the option of skipping out on the later stuff. So the only reason to do Upper Norfair first is like you're looking for something for Lower Norfair, or if you don't have like the Mire access, and you think you might have a Lava Dive LN access, maybe put off to have like Kane or like the medallions, but obviously they just have it normally and they know all that stuff already.
Yep, and I'm guessing we'll see a similar play from Osse once he gets his various suit here. Especially since he hasn't done the screw attack or GT checks either.
Yeah, and this match is still pretty close. You know, Cutie, I think we agree, has made a couple mistakes. He's kind of like ahead in the logic right now. Osse really just has that Ice Palace kind of banked already, and that pod play, which ended up being nothing. So it's going to be some time loss for Osse on that pod play. As I was explaining before, it's really not that terrible. But Cutie is, you know, ahead in the progression, if not the race, just because he will have to do Ice Palace at some point. But you know, he may go mode it again with Icebreaker. Not the biggest advantage to go mode it, but still some time. And so they both kind of have time in the bank against each other right now. But Osse does have the crystal finished.
Yeah, one interesting thing though, to kind of play devil's advocate from having not done the pod play. Obviously, that's time that Osse invested, and some of that was wasted. But at the same time, he did get the lamp. So if Cutie's late to the lamp, he might have a harder time with some of these dark rooms, especially if they end up doing Mire. I know there's some in there that are kind of tricky. You can definitely get tripped up trying to lay the block on the switch, and you might end up losing some time in places just due to not having the lamp.
Yeah, it just completely depends on where that bow ends up being. So I thought we're actually sneaking up on go mode here because we don't need the mirror at all. We do need the bow. We need fire rod, and then just hookshot or boots, right? Because bow gets us Eastern and pod. Okay, well no, if we do need
hookshot or mirror for sure.
Yeah, it's a hookshot or boots or hookshot or mirror. So mirror would get us everything, or sorry, hookshot gets us everything.
Right. And obviously, ARealCutie still has to pick up his fire source and second sword.
Yeah, that's true. That fire source is impossible to miss, though. You know, pod being a crystal. Actually, no. I guess technically it is missable if he did like right side first. Okay, so it's impossible to miss by a sensible person.
Yeah, it's a very silly route that he should not take. But could.
The only reason you would do that is you just completely brain fart and just completely do that. I think Cutie killed Ridley as I was talking about something else. So I'll assume it was a very good Ridley, considering who we're talking about.
Pogoed on once, but you know, no trouble.
I've watched Cutie enough that this doesn't even faze me. Is some of his ridiculous fights.
I mean, anyone in this tournament is going to have an easy time with 40 super missiles on Ridley. Cutie just doing it a little bit faster than most. I'm sure we'll see another fantastic one from Osse as well.
Yeah, there's not a lot of people that Osse would play where you're going to see better movement from the other. Well, there's our hookshot. Okay, so Seed's really starting to come into focus now. We all have all of Dark Death Mountain now, especially with Turok being a pendant. 100% makes sense to. Well, actually, no, I'd honestly say just do Mire first, right? Just get your crystal. If you luck into bow, you know, you can do pod and Eastern, and then you've at that point, we know it's not in pod, but you feel kind of likely you're going to run into Fire Rod. So
yeah,
but either one makes sense.
You could potentially make an argument for like kind of going up Death Mountain and pushing Hera first, since again that's another crystal dungeon they need to clear.
It's true, but you could always. Well, I guess
on the way, similar to what you're saying with Mire.
Yeah, Cutie may do the Death Mountain first just because he doesn't have the mirror. A little nervous about that Mire Dark Room. I know like Dark Rooms used to be one of his big weaknesses, and he has put some time into it. So he can do all of them now. They're just a tricky a spot for him still.
Yeah, and even if he can do them, it's going to be slower for everybody, right? I mean,
Right.
no one does it as fast in the dark as they will in the light, so potentially finding a lamp is going to speed that up.
Yeah, I was just saying. I feel like it's you can make a pretty good argument for either one, and I think Cutie not having the lamp will.
Wait a minute. Yeah, so no fire source whatsoever for Cutie means he might not be able to clear Meyer.
Oh yeah. Good point.
He's on the left side. Yeah, I realized that as we were talking here. So definitely Hera and Death Mountain makes more sense for him. Osse, you could make an argument for either way, but I agree. Misery Mire makes a lot of sense just to get it done.
Yeah, Misery Mire is one of those, like, you just don't know how good of a go mode it is until you're in there. So it feels bad when it's, first chest, big key, and there's nothing in there and you didn't go mode it. But again, if you're clearing dungeons, how wrong can you really be? But we'll have all of Death Mountain. It's not a situation where it's like you have to worry about how many climbs you have to make. Because Turtle Rock's a pendant. At this point, like, unless Bo is in Turtle Rock, which at that point your opponent's just gonna make 2 climbs too. Like, that's just something you don't worry about.
Right.
All right. Expect Osse's fight to be very good too. Again, he's been grinding RBO. So this is the most comfortable fight he's had in a long time. He's probably checking his phone and stuff during that fight. Just doesn't have to pay attention to it. Yeah, very good fight from Osse. That little manip he was doing on Ridley to keep him in the pogos for the super. Something I know he was working on RBO. Something I've shamelessly stolen. Although worse than the way he does it.
Yeah, and both Osse and ARealCutie getting the nice quick grab as well to break Ridley out of that pogo animation and speed up the death sequence a little bit.
Yeah, I think the more interesting choice now is Croc. I would be inclined to skip it here. We do have speed, so you can come back pretty quickly.
Yeah.
We did just get that hook shot that opens up, like we said, Hera and both light and dark Death Mountains. Yeah. There's just so many checks. It's like 15, 16 checks, something like that, plus a dungeon. You can just come back to Croc whenever. It looks like Cutie is going to do that. He is going to be checking Cathedral here as well. This is a check I abandoned a lot. It does have the grapple there. It does pick it up. Yeah, that unfortunately does put Shack Tool in logic. Probably not going to be worried about it here. I'm almost a little surprised he picked it up because he needs it for nothing but Shack Tool right now. So he could stumble into ice, in which case he could just do the ice clip, and then him just knowing it's in logic, so he can just say, okay, I'm just going to get it. Or if it comes to the point where you're going to do Shack Tool, you can just come back for it. But I guess not too far of your way, just to go ahead and grab it. But it gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah, it looks like he's doing the ice and probably crumble tower checks. We'll see if he does go down to Croc from here. That's also an option. I imagine if he was going to do Croc, he would have done it the other way. On his way back from Bubble Mountain, but he could do this instead, just to prevent alienating the Cathedral item.
Yeah, some of these rooms are so impressive. I don't even know which ones to call. Cutie having a really nice mock ball after the ice beam right there. Just, I've been told just bonk your head on the ceiling and it's free. I can say that's incorrect. I'm sure you have to bonk your head, but there's more to it than that. Yeah, the Croc skip makes just so much sense here.
Yeah, I agree.
Just too much stuff. I do get, one of the things I need to get better at is, like, I'll do the Croc skip there. It's like, well, I got speed, I can come back whenever, and I just put it to last instead of just like looking to do it when it kind of makes sense, to actually come back. and not just put it off forever. Because it's not one of those, some places where it's like if it's there, that's going to be last. Croc's not something that's like that. There's just too much stuff there. That's why I always like seeing something at Croc exit, because it kind of takes the decision out of my hands.
Right, you might as well go in and clear it since you know there's something
Yeah,
good
if I'm going down there, unless it's something like Ice Rod or something, and I just stumble into everything else first, and that's my go mode. Like, I'm just like, I'm just gonna do it. Because I believe it's the case. If you have something to get up to Croc Escape, that means you also have something to get to Indiana Jones and grapple. So it's not like you're ever going to be like an isolation position. Well, there's our flippers, unfortunately. Seed's not quite screaming swamp yet, but that does open up the possibility. The problem with... Oh no, flippers. I'm thinking... Yeah, never mind. That's actually... That puts Ice Palace on Logic. We needed those for completion. That's not too bad.
Yeah,
I was thinking Mirror for some reason.
It's not good for Cutie necessarily, since we know that that's an empty dungeon, and he's a little bit behind on dungeon clearing. So he's going to want to obviously avoid full clearing Ice Palace to save a little bit of time over Osse. And this kind of puts... It puts that in logic. I don't think he's going to do that right away with no boots and only fighter sword, no fire rod. It's a lot less appealing. Osse did have Master Sword when he had that come open.
Yeah, Cutie's still on fire. Where was the Master Sword again? That Osse has it, and...
Oh, the hammer pegs. That's right. Yeah.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, it was a hammer pegs. Which, since Cutie full cleared Thieves Town the first time, minus the big chest, he's got a little bit less incentive to go over there. I think he already did both of the purple chest and blacksmith chain as well.
Yeah, that is an annoying dead rock. Yeah, actually, if there's something specifically on Aoife tablet, it's going to be very bad for Cutie not having this Master Sword. So definitely going to be hoping this is nothing. Fairy from the future. That's
definitely
pretty much the definition of nothing at this point with Varia and Gravity Suit. I don't think there's not many items Cutie could possibly care about less than a reserve tank right now.
I think the dead rock was trying to do him a favor and just saving the time of walking over there to check it. Yeah, there's a handful of different ways, by the way, to route all these Death Mountain checks. I do like the way Cutie's doing it. This isn't necessarily the most item-dense checks first, but he's doing all the Light World first. He's going to do this dungeon and then go back to the Dark World checks.
I was just saying, one of my favorite things about watching Cutie is he's obviously very good at SM. He's good at Link to the Past, but there's like 4 or 5 rooms that he just grinded the hell out of in Link to the Past. So all of a sudden, every once in a while, you just get this one moment of just like a perfectly executed room out of nowhere, and then he just goes back to kind of wandering around the game. And then he had a very good Hair of Beetles, very difficult. He cut my time on that. And he made me get better at it. And Cutie has made me better at this game out of spite. So shout out to Cutie.
Yeah, so far, not finding anything good here in Hera, though. Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned he's clearly has more strength of play in Super Metroid, but he definitely he can hold his own here. He knows all the tricks. He hasn't had any trouble. He had almost took a death in Thieves Town, but other than that, really hasn't had any issues execution-wise.
Yeah, I mean, his like average level of play in Link to the Past has come up a while. So it used to be even more like startling when like it looked like he didn't know what he was doing, and then all of a sudden he would be in one room, he would just do it perfectly, and then he'd go back to just wandering around, and it was really funny looking. It just overall his play has gotten much better. Definitely, really, just a solid Link to the Past player at this point.
Yeah, and we get the 3rd medallion from Moldorm. This nice hammer kill, which means we can for sure enter Turtle Rock, which isn't necessarily a bad play. Without the fire rod, it's potentially a really quick dip in and out. So that might be something that Cutie wants to do. It's really hard to say. It's definitely a bit of a risk, but I wouldn't be surprised if he, or if Osse for that matter, after clearing Tower of Hera and the Dark World checks, opts to do that. Really, the only scary part is if you find Fire Rod in Turtle Rock, then you're in an awkward position where you may want to continue and clear the whole pendant dungeon, and you have other things available.
Nice little rail clip by Osse there to get past the Kadongo fire.
Alright, well, without Mirror and Cutie opting to go to the Dark World from the bottom, he's not actually going to be going into Turtle Rock for sure here.
That was a very cheeky first spin on Moldorm. Shoutouts to Moldorm hitboxes.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that hit. I was just watching on the delayed restream, and I'm very surprised that worked.
Yeah, I mean, you've watched enough AD to to see some of the really wonky hitboxes where you like hammer his head and somehow hits his tail, and you're like, okay, sure. So Osse looks like he's going to be clearing out. I guess there's an item down here.
Okay,
This is going to be another very bad location for Cutie, missing that lamp.
Yeah, he didn't have the decision to make since he's not able to check it. That's a good point.
Yeah, it's going to be just. I mean, I think. Same thing with like Thieves Town, like whether or not you put it off or not. I think both are defensible. So, and it's just a situation where Osse just has the items he needs. I think if Osse just hadn't done pot, he still would be coming up here. So, might just be a little fortuitous if he does, if it is something down here. It's setting up a Death Orb though. Something I always forget to do. So good on him.
Yeah, it's very painful to have to walk back out of this dungeon, too. It's a really surprisingly long walk from the basement. You have to remember to hit the switches a couple times.
Yeah, I don't think either of them scouted TR because it's pendant and we have all the medallions, so who cares?
Mm-hmm. Alright, yep, nothing in the basement and nothing in Spike Cave at the same time. Let's see where these guys choose to go.
Yeah, so there was just nothing on... Did Cutie do Dark Death Mountain?
Yep.
He just did it. Okay, yeah,
Ray and a bunch of other garbage.
So really nothing on... Yeah, that seems to happen... there's just so many locations in this. SM added 100 locations, but like the amount of progression you need in SM is a lot less than A Link to the Past. I mean, you really need what, like 3 items, and then one item out of like a pool, basically. So it adds 100 locations, but it really only adds like 4 or 5 like bits of progression, and those might be different every seed. But you're still only looking for a handful of things, really.
Mm-hmm.
So it can just happen where there's fairly big chunks of this game just don't have anything. Yeah, more SM needs 1 item and everything else is negotiable. Is a very good way of putting it.
Yeah. It looks like those Cutie priming up to go into Ice Palace, which Cold Stare in particular can be really dangerous with just Fighter Sword. He's gonna have to use either a whole bunch of spins or hammer hits, which can be very difficult to land. So Cutie smartly putting the freshly acquired bottle to use, filling it up with the blue potion. And this makes a lot of sense for him. He did just get the flipper, so this is 100% in logic. It's a crystal dungeon. I like this play. Unfortunately, it's not going to turn up anything good, apart from the crystal.
Yeah. Again, with the... I don't know if Cutie actually can do the icebreaker yet. I think he can't. So we may see the old vanilla route. So a little bit less of a good play for him. Something you may want to look to go mode. But yeah, again, it doesn't have that any fire rod or fire source for Meyer. We were thinking like Osse really didn't score anything from that pod trip. It could be fire locked Meyer, right? And that pod trip actually was required.
Yeah, here's that turtle rock dip that I mentioned earlier that these guys would have the option to do. Since Osse did open the Darkwood portal here on the top, he gets to go in here, potentially just leave right away, potentially get kind of dragged around through the dungeon without the fire rod anyway, which is less bad when it's a pendant.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
I do, especially when it's a pendant. I do like the early the turtle rock play. It tends going to just kick you out like that, or it's going to give you a key. Like you can get all the way to Laser Bridge, right? But it's pretty unlikely. So I've seen stuff there plenty of times where there's just the item you need in the first chest. Really not too bad of a dip. Does get plasma, which is... I mean, I guess we don't really have a lot of SM left. Not even really going to help on Mother Brain too much. The supers are still going to be a little faster. It is going to give them the option. I guess the main thing it does right now is gives them the option of doing a stand-up. A stand-up that's worthwhile.
Yep. And
So
looks like Cutie making a liar out of you again.
yeah.
Doing the icebreaker he said he didn't know. Or at least attempting. He's having a little bit of difficulty.
I'm going to count this as not knowing it. I'll have to update my my facts
There
about
it is.
Cutie book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just joking. That was a very nicely done second attempt. It's a one-frame trick, so literally everyone misses it. He recovered it very nicely, gets through. And having the big thing about Icebreaker, especially in Rando, is it really makes half magic pretty attractive. We do have bombos here though, so it's not a big deal. So yeah, I guess not. Cutie does only have Fighter Sword though. That's going to be Fighter Sword and no Fire Rod. So his cold stare is going to be a little on the iffy side.
Yeah, he's got cape and at least two. I think he's got 2 blue potions, maybe a blue and 2 green. I'm not quite sure, but he's got several to use.
Yeah, if he's got a blue, I hope he would just go straight to hammer. He's got a lot of hits to tank. Oh right, we still do have Croc. I was saying I always forget about Croc when I said I'm gonna put it off, and I already forgot about it.
Yeah, I kind of would have expected Osse to do Misery Mire first. So you can just flute there and then save and quit back to Death Mountain if it doesn't pay out, and then do this. But this is more item dense. The chances that you find both the items that you still need, they're in Misery Mire are incredibly slim. And even if you find one, you still might have to scour around for the other. So, not a bad play at all.
Yeah, I think when when we did leave it, and then Death Mountain was just screaming Death Mountain, and for there to be nothing there is pretty surprising. So it doesn't make sense to come back to Croc at this point. Do you remember if we have an item in Skullwood still?
I think so. I missed the map chest. I don't know what was in there, but I know missiles was the only item I saw, and the vanilla big key chest. The others were just keys and other dungeon items. So I think there is an item in the back.
Yeah, I think if you're gonna, I think what would make sense is a save scum here. I didn't find anything, right? Is there, unless he's planning on doing Jackdaw? In which case, he still should have saved before coming down here, right? And then you could just reset back up to it.
Yeah, that certainly would make sense to me.
Cutie is in his hammer cold stare fight. Yeah, pretty dangerous fight. He can take one more hit from these puffs before he's gonna have to fill up. Being on blue mail, taking 3 hearts. Probably gonna want to do it now. Yeah, okay.
He could have potentially used his cape for a little bit and done a couple of spins to make sure to get the full refill of health and magic. But that works as well. The other thing that he could opt to do to get a little bit more safety is fighting one puff at a time. Basically, if you eliminate one, it makes the fight significantly safer.
Yeah,
instead of kind of doing damage to all 3 intermittently, it just kind of drags on how much time you have to spend dancing around all of them. But
yeah, it kind of cuts both ways because, like, I think you really want to be opportunistic on when you go after these puffs. So if you're just trying to chase one, it might be in a bad spot, and then you really need to pay attention to what you're doing. You don't want to, like, keep you don't want to be playing the shell game with your other eye on the puff you want to target later on. So I kind of just take hits where I can get them. Yeah, the fighter sword spins are slow, but they're actually tend to be pretty safe as long as you can dodge those that falling ice. But Cutie does get it cleaned up.
Yeah, especially with some of those double hits. So you're getting 2 spins from the fighter sword is effectively the same as 1 hammer hit. So definitely not a bad way to go. Mixing the 2 up for the safest and best fight you can do, just like Osse did. A little less firepower on his sword.
Yeah, I mean, arguably one of Cutie's greatest strengths in Link to the Past is just like knowing his limits. Making sure he's got those bottles. And then knowing he can just, like, well, I've got plenty of bottles. I'm just going to face tank and try to damage as fast as possible. Not just going for it. Not like worried about like having any sort of shame of using a bottle or something like that. Just get through it. And he did a good job of cleaning it up.
Right. And right when you mentioned that, he checks his inventory to make sure he's still got a blue potion. He looks at his bottle contents to know that he'll be safe in Misery Mire. I did not see what was in the spike floor chest. Looks like it was a small key.
Yeah, I did. I missed it. Yeah, it's
on the bridge. So this is likely going to be a quick in and out from ARealCutie, unless the big key's in that chest just to the left of the big chest, since he can't check these firelock ones.
I'm wondering what else it could be, because, like,
vanilla.
Like, what do we still have left? So it might be that
catfish. We've got Eastern.
We have catfish, right? Yeah.
Catfish, Eastern, shovel check. Really, some odds and ends that they're kind of all bad.
I'm surprised that shovel check is annoying, but it never gets better. You kind of just have to bite the bullet and do it at some point.
Unless you get mirror and compare it in with like K45. It's probably the only other time it'll be faster.
Yeah, but even then they're already done like Stumpy, right? I mean, that's really when it's like, if you can do it with Stumpy, like, yeah, great, it's super. But I'm just surprised that's we're kind of into the bad check realm, and that's like the least of the bad. It's especially with the flute, right? Because you can just flute to 4, check it, and then flute wherever you're gonna go next. It's not really that terrible.
Yeah,
that's something you prioritize, but
let's say Eastern's not too bad either, just because you could potentially get 3 items up front.
Yeah, well, the Cutie's still got the Eastern pod play. For him, I'm actually surprised Osse didn't even go into Eastern at that point, because I mean, all he got was Lamp, right? Which may end up being the answer, although maybe not. I guess Osse still hasn't found anything. So
Yeah, this boomerang is the first item we've seen in this dungeon.
yeah, I mean,
Cutie
is it
might
the
get the second item.
I guess it's the situation that Osse can clear this, right? But besides that, we're more or less all tied up, right? Like, I mean, if I guess it just depends on if that lamp is needed, right? Or forced.
Yeah.
I guess Osse does have. He's going to have a quick pod when he does end up going back there. So, like, I mean, Osse, I think, is still has the lead here, but it's really close, and it's just gonna matter where this last item. Although we don't have a lot left. I mean, SM is done at this point. Oh, Osse already did Croc too, so Cutie may be tempted to make that play, which feels likely, honestly. He's gonna be making this pod play.
Okay, so he'll get his lamp. Assuming he knows the potion camera unlock, he can clear out the rest of the front of the dungeon. If not, it might end up helping him a little bit if he doesn't.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter, right?
Because there's no progression there.
Yeah, unless he. I don't remember where the big key was. I don't think it was in the front, so it's not like he can have a super quick pod on a return trip.
Right.
I mean, we're just straight up running out of locations for stuff. I almost we're so thin on locations, and we still need the bow and fire rod. I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see the mirrors, because that opens up more places for items to be.
Yeah, either mirror, maybe even boots. Boots opens a couple. It's not a lot, but we haven't seen Lumberjack, I don't think, and Bonk Rocks, King's Tomb.
Well, yeah, I guess the two things, like, mirror opens up swamp, and fire rod opens up Turtle Rock, right? So
yeah, that's true.
Alright, Cutie not having the mirror. This isn't a. Oh, I was really hoping he was in a dip Eastern, because that kind of feels like where it's got to be, right? Otherwise, he's this looks like the Croc play.
Well,
so
he
this
might
is
be
just going to
Eastern, because he wouldn't be able to mirror from pod anyway.
Oh yeah. And I think that's what he is doing. That's why Osse didn't do Eastern earlier. I was like,
right. Or he's going back to Meyer, since he knows Meyer's a crystal and he's already checked.
Yeah,
front of it. He's just got to get that big key and beat the dungeon.
Yeah, he's probably kicking himself that he didn't have this mirror, and then
especially with this item layout, I think it's the worst possible layout, because he has to go to the left side. He's going to get the compass chest, get the big key in the vanilla chest, then go back to the big chest to get the heart piece.
Yeah, and being on fighter sword, like,
oh yeah,
it's gonna be a pretty tough fight for him. He honestly was just able to do the little cape glitch where he just spam and swing and doesn't really drain your magic. He's not gonna be able to do that because fighter sword swings don't do anything. He's gonna need to do spins. You can spin with the cape, but it's gonna be draining his magic the entire time. It does have another blue potion, but it's just gonna be it doesn't even matter how, if you have the best fighter sword fight possible, it still just takes forever. Like, it just straight up takes forever, no matter what you're doing. Oh, I forgot about Red Bomb.
Yeah.
Red Bomb and Catfish. Yeah, this makes a lot of sense from Osse. Yeah, okay. This could definitely be the answer.
Yeah, Cutie does have 19 bombs, so his best bet for the fight is going to be, if he's aware of it, to use bombs on the first phase of Vitreous, kind of to negate the sword disadvantage for the most part. Still going to be a little slower, but he'll be able to damage a bunch of little eyeballs at once. But no, I agree. This is good routing from Osse here to get the pyramid and Catfish knocked out, kind of in a nice little chain.
Yeah, so if it is here, that doesn't mean that dip in the pod was required, which is just incredibly rude. Okay, no, it was not. Okay, I have no idea why Ossie's getting a bottle right here.
He used his green potion. He might just be preparing for like a
For what? At this
say
point?
like a Master Sword silver. Well, he's gonna have silvers. Never mind.
Yeah. He knows he's gonna get silvers.
Yeah, he already has the silvers, just not the bow. That's right. I was gonna say for Ganon he could use cape strats and then drink a potion to get through phase 4, but likely won't need it.
Yeah, I mean, even if you could have spiked the blue potion there, I mean, he's got blue mail, 15 hearts. Like he's pretty set.
Yeah. Well, it's always green potions in the V11.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Even if
Okay.
it was randomized, right? Like I don't even in that situation, I don't necessarily think it was worth.
Cutie's trying really hard to get that chest turn. Finally gets it on the 3rd or 4th attempt.
Yeah, get your links W's in chat. I know like 2 people here know what that is. I'm still gonna say it. If this is shovel, I'm.
Yeah, this was available a long time ago. Shovel
Yeah,
was,
again, I don't.
Brinstar?
I get not rushing this. I 100% get not rushing this.
Yeah.
But like at this point, like we're far into we're doing bad checks. Well, all right.
Yeah, it was on Dragon. It wasn't in Brinstar. And it was
So-
sitting somewhere at a Chozo statue.
Oh, Aussie hasn't done desert. Yeah, so it looks. I guess it's got to be Eastern, right? So this is interesting. I was actually.
Or Shack Tool.
Or Shack Tool. So if it is East, I was actually having this conversation with Aussie the other day, where he completely destroyed everyone in a race. It was the ye old Bowen Eastern seed, and he ended up doing it first. And I was talking to him a little bit, and he was saying just like, he feels like skipping Eastern can be a little greedy just because not having Sphere Zero information can be really damaging to you. It could be Bow Eastern right here, right? We could have, I mean, it could be something on Armos, and it could be Fire Rod on Armos, something like that too, or on Helma. So it's going to be interesting to see if that's the case, that it's going to be here, and then Seed potentially, Aussie's really let Cutie stick around in this match. I think Cutie has definitely made a couple mistakes. He's having a little bit of a trouble with his Vidi fight right here. Hasn't used any of those bombs you were talking about.
Yeah, that would be his best bet. He must not be aware of that. Maybe he doesn't know what kind of damage they do, but just getting area of effect damage on 4 to 6 eyes or so at once is a very, very big advantage.
Yeah, he's really struggling. This is a very difficult fight. Unfortunately, he's going to take the death there.
Yeah.
It's just an unfortunate situation for Cutie. We said, a couple times, is really what he's concentrating on here is just not dying. But this not being his strength, like some of these oddball situations, like the really low percent fights, not even Master Sword, just Fighter Sword, just something he hasn't really put a lot of time into yet. And he can get that Master Sword. It's kind of an annoying location for him. So I guess he's just kind of banking on the fact that, that's not going to be the answer. He is going to be right about that, so at least got that going for him. Unfortunately, he's not heading to where the answer is going to be.
Yeah, he's going to Croc, it looks like. But yeah, the Vitreous fight, just to add a little bit more on that, that's one of those fights that you kind of... It doesn't normally require a whole lot of thought, but with certain low percent, you kind of have to know how to manipulate those eyeballs and get your hits in. And it's not necessarily intuitive. Kind of similar to some of the Super Metroid bosses, actually, the way you can manipulate Ridley, and you don't normally have to in a randomizer seed with, you have 10 E-tanks and 50 super missiles. But
yeah, I think it's
really need to be able to do that to get the fight out.
stuff like that is like I think what really separates the good from like the great randomizer players. Where it's like you can do really well. Randomizer 99% of the time is just going to hand you a bucket of items, and you're going to be way over kitted compared to like an NMG style fight or even a low percent fight. But every once in a while, it makes you do some really low dumb stuff. And it's just stuff that a lot of people don't practice, and it can be a pretty big advantage if you can do it, because you can just kind of head into dungeons no matter what your equipment is, and like you don't really worry about dying, you just worry about it being slow as far as your routing, and it's just stuff like that can come up in a tournament. You can get through a tournament even without it coming up, but it unfortunately came up for Cutie. And it's going to cost him. He's had a couple of time losses here, even one on the SM side. But we're kind of. It's got to be the case where Osse's going to run into progression here, whatever it is: fire rod, bow, or mirror, or boots, or a shack tool. Which, I mean, that's just going to be the last location for both guys.
That's all 3 items out of Eastern. I like this play from Osse to not loop around and get the big key right now, just on the off chance he gets boots when he comes back, because he knows he's going to have to come back anyway.
Yeah, you do have to go through all of it.
A minor time save, potentially, but...
on Cutie's side, honestly, he may do the shack play after Croc. Just, he's got to feel like he's in trouble.
Yeah.
So
he dipped Meyer twice and hasn't completed it.
Yeah,
he block in the moat earlier.
Yeah, he may feel the need to pull this Hail Mary. The problem is, like, if this is... It's got to be Shack, right? I mean, there's no way Osse is doing this anything besides the very last location.
Yeah, I think that's all that's left, unless I miss something.
Yeah, I can't imagine anything. But even if Cutie makes his play right here, he's still going to be behind Osse. And then at this point, like, we're out of... I mean, this is going to lead to, like... I guess the Cutie's best case is this mirror, right? And the mirror opens up a bunch of stuff, and then Cutie also guesses right on that.
Right.
That's pretty much what it's down to. So it'll be interesting to see if Cutie decides to go for the Hail Mary here. It's easy to say, so it's like, oh yeah, you definitely should. A lot of times it just feels like you're taking the kneel down when you do that, though, because 9 times out of 10, 99 times out of 100, it's not going to be anything.
Right. Yeah,
especially. Yes, I was just say, especially against a guy like Osse, like, I don't know, I feel like it's time to pull the trigger. Like, there was if you saw the Andy versus Ivan match, they were frame for frame coming out of pod, and to see that like they both had trouble, and then like the rest of it seemed pretty obvious. And Andy felt behind and went to ice, and Ivan went to do crystals, and it was just the logical stuff. So sometimes you feel like you're way behind and you're really not, and you can lose, but and it's easy for us to say on this side of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say just with the number of checks that Cutie has available, did he do plasma, or did he leave that one as well?
I don't remember.
I know Osse earlier, but if Cutie had plasma, that would incentivize him a little bit more to go to Shack Tool. He could kind of pair those together and then just reset if they end up being nothing. Yeah,
so he is turning down the Shack Tool. I think he might be making this TR play.
Yep. Which I kind of wish he would have done this earlier. I think it would have made sense at the time.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you kind of... Now is not the right time, I don't feel.
And it's the bow. Wow. So that means... It's on Helma specifically?
Yeah.
Specifically. And then it's either mirror or fire rod for our go mode. Because that is the worst case scenario for Cutie. I guess it could be mirror on Helma, and then it's still a pick'em, right?
But... Yeah, or boots, or a magic powder is the other fetch quest we haven't seen. But
the fetch quest is just...
It's just delays.
One more... Yeah, it's just
one more step in the chain.
Cutie needs a branch that he can, take a shortcut through. It just being one more step in the chain's not going to do it here. Oh, he's also doing this basement. Oh yeah,
Actually,
that's
this makes more sense than Turtle Rock, I think. He's kind of gambling here, I think, on the fact that maybe Osse didn't check this when he was here. Maybe Osse was in the same boat, not having a lamp. It's odd that didn't hit the crystal switch.
Yeah.
directly
Well, I
on
mean,
top.
Cutie does have one more. He did say his strategy before this was to hope Osse's power goes out. So I guess that is still on the table. But we are in some sort of blackout territory for Q to be able to make this one up. But yeah, I didn't see QDC last week. I know there were some grumblings about his seed being absolutely disgusting. Like the lamp logically wasn't that gross, but like with it being specifically bow on Shack Tool, after like bow on Shack Tool in a way where you had to double dip Meridia, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you got the hammer and just dipped, right? Was there anything else in Meridia later on?
I mean, nothing that was required. Like Space Jump was helpful.
The Bombos is not going to be required because we know we're going to stumble into Fire Rod.
Well,
So you could
Bombos
do,
was
and
required
nothing
for
was in
Meyer.
ice.
Bombos was
Right,
required
but
for Meyer, but not for that.
Oh, for Meyer, right. Yeah, I mean, there's just no good way of getting that Shack Tool. So, and it's like, so even though that lamp turned out not to be troll, yeah, there's Kitty hiding in that top pig. I can't unsee it.
Very weird.
Yeah, there's just. I mean, if we had 20 people running this, 20 people are less locationing that Shack Tool. Right? There's just maybe 19, maybe someone. Yeah, I think the only way you check Shack Tool is if you go like, ooh, I think I'm losing. Let me make a Hail Mary, right? Like, I think that's the only way you do it.
Yeah.
Anyways, excited for what's gonna be on Helma. Maybe the seed will do him a favor and it'll be boots, like just as an apology, and then just like put the Fire Rod in like King's Doom or Bomb Crocs. Oh God, you know, I just realized neither of them checked Lumberjack, did they?
Nope, we have not seen that yet.
Oh my God, please don't. I'm gonna be upset if it's boots because
Osse not going for the AD strat there, the OK Boomer to hit the
what the hell?
The switch from underneath. That's surprising. He definitely knows that.
He knows swag boom too. Like I just gotta. What are you worried about losing the frame rule right now? Come on.
And Cutie is, I'm guessing, checking pedestal before going to the Dark World here.
Yeah, I mean it's.
I mean, for him, it could be progression. He knows it might be the bow, but at the same time, he can't clear all the
that's
pendant.
he can't.
So I don't think this is a very smart play at the moment. Even if it was progression, and it's nice to know, you can do this later once you get the Fire Rod.
Well, not on Miri. There's the Fire Rod. So that's wow. This seed. All right, so yeah, I mean basically, like you're getting that lamp first, right? There's no way you're doing Shack Tool before pods. So you're gonna get that lamp. You're gonna chase lamp. Just a pretty unfortunate layout, I think, for Cutie, and just he's in a pretty big hole right now. Osse's going to need to have quite the disaster for this to go any other way.
Yeah, this is not the seed that Cutie wanted. Effectively full clear both games with Master Sword or lower for all the Link to the Past bosses, or at least for the handful that you could do before hitting go mode.
Yeah, I mean, Cutie's only chance here was like the way Cutie could have done this if he just like really just decided to double down on SM first, including Shack Tool, right? If like really double, which is just such a, he Like that's just not a thing you're gonna do, right?
He just didn't have a way to do Shack Tool either. He couldn't
Well, I'm
even.
saying like as soon as he grabbed that grappling hook, just like if I'm saying in his mind, he's like, I'm 100% clearing SM, come hell or high water, right? He could have grabbed that grappling hook and went straight up, right? Which would have been the play. Like that would have been. He would have been like done with all of his crystals at this point if he'd made that play. But like that's just such a.
It's just a bad call.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. He'd have to
made
like
the
just
objectively right decision. It just wasn't the lucky one. I would say.
and like. You know, if it was the other thing is like ice isn't anywhere, right? So you could have ice clipped to it.
Right.
If you know, this could have been a thing where it's like if ice was just laying around the seed, right? That's a situation where maybe Cutie makes that decision and you know Osse dips out of it. But just there's just no way you're doing it. It's just you, and then yeah, you just have to do everything, and then the seed is just this. This is one of the seeds that's like if you had a spoiler log, it's not that bad, right? It's like, oh, I have 2 suits like almost immediately, right? I can just go do all this stuff. I'll have to go get this grapple in an annoying location. But you know, it's pretty straightforward. But it's just like when you're playing it and you don't know where stuff is, you're never gonna do that shack tool.
Very nice hammer Mothula fight from Osse. Since a lot of people don't actually know that hammer does twice the damage that fire rod does on Mothula. Fire rod does not deal any like extra bonus damage or anything like that. So if you can do it quickly, hammer tends to be your best bet and honestly safer in a lot of ways.
Yeah, the hammer is difficult. If you have Master Sword, I still advocate for the spins because you can get hits on when he's on the spikes, which is obviously the big thing. But the hammer, the hitbox is just terrible, and then you're coupling that with Moth's normal level of terribleness. So yeah, I'll just stick with the. You have to be really, really good with the hammer for it to be faster than Master Sword.
I would say it depends on your specific difficulty in the fight. Like I know for me, when I'm charging a spin, I get hit by spikes every time, or I accidentally poke a spike and then lose my spin, and I
guess that's true. I always forget to kind of like retool my brain for random. Where you're in this situation where you have like 15 hearts and blue mail, right? It's like just face tank and hammer, and it's fine. But yeah, yeah, I mean, it's true. Like, especially with the spins, you know, a lot of times you're charging a spin and just the tip of the sword will hit a spike and then you drop it. Yeah, Cutie getting his, even Cutie putting that off to, you know, he's definitely into his crap checks list. It's just, I think honestly for both of them, it was just kind of forgotten.
I'm trying to think what's left for Cutie at this point. He's got Meyer that he can finish up to get that pyramid.
Yeah, I think he's
got Catfish still.
Yeah, he still got the Meyer into. I mean, I think to him, he 100% expects it to find it in Pyramid Fairy, but because he already did Meyer twice, he figures that's already a loss for him. So, but I wouldn't even be surprised to him to bite that bullet even before going back to Shack Tool. Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's kind of ignoring the Meyer stuff, even though I think in his mind he expects it to be in Pyramid Fairy, or one of the last items in Meyer. I think there is one over there.
No, he got that on his second trip.
Oh, right. That's right. He already did too.
Out of there.
Yeah, so I kind of expect in what he's thinking is he thinks it's in Pyramid Fairy, but he knows if that's the situation, he's definitely lost. And you know, maybe in the situation he's in now, he's got like a 1% chance to find it. But yeah, like I think Cutie would have a hard time beating Osse in this seed just because it's gonna be a hundo no matter what, really. And you know, Cutie definitely you know, probably the stronger SM player in this. But Aussie has a pretty good advantage on Link to the Past, and when it's Hundo versus Hundo like that, the stronger player is definitely going to win unless the underdog kind of has a really strong route or it's really efficient.
Looks like Cutie is going to go back to Meridia before the return to Misery Mire.
Yeah, I guess he does have Plasma, because why would you backdoor this just for Shack Tool?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so he's going to Plasma, and then he'll go down the toilet to Shack Tool, get his bow, and then be able to return and clean up Pod and Eastern to hit go mode.
Yo, Cutie getting the Plasma Spark. This is very nicely done. Is that our first Plasma Spark of the tournament?
I don't know.
There's about
First one, actually.
I've seen a missed one. I think there's only like three people who would bother going for it. That's the first one I've seen. That's something like you have like 3 or 4 extra frames to be able to get it. It's incredibly tight, incredibly difficult. Like it's less flashier than full halfy with like the time save, but it is so much more difficult.
All right, Aussie entering GT. He's going to have a relatively slow Ganon's Tower, but still pretty safe. Ganon's Tower is probably the worst dungeon to do without boots.
And mirror, honestly.
And without mirror, yeah. Depending on that big key location, that could be really obnoxious.
Yeah, mirror wouldn't matter in like an NMG context, but in rando, it's terrible.
Yeah, it might actually change up how he routes the beginning of the dungeon looking for that big key.
Yeah, I specifically do the left back to right because you can always do it every single time. The one time you can't is when you don't have the mirror, and I always forget to make that change because it's so rare you have a mirror seed. There's
Wow, that's a very rude place for that tempered sword.
I don't know.
On the land.
I wouldn't be surprised if Kitty ends up fourth in this match. I really wish he would keep going so you could just see that, because I think it'd be funny. Yeah, Kitty now getting his bow. Definitely not going to be happy about that.
Okay, I was gonna say I think Cutie might have forgot he had Spring Ball using bomb. You used at least one bomb jump there.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to forget you got Spring, especially when you got it basically after you were done with SM and you're just coming back in for these oddball checks. But I mean, this is still gonna be it's actually not gonna be that bad of a time for Cutie. Probably gonna be pulling in right around the 3-hour mark. He's just gonna, do pod. Although he's gonna full clear it, looking for that fire rod. Of course, it's gonna be on Helma for him.
Yeah.
And then Eastern and Skull Wizard gonna be pretty quick. Oh, and he does have to still do that Misery Mire.
Yeah, he's got to return to Misery Mire as well, so he's still got a pretty good amount of time.
Yeah, I think Aussie's going to be pulling in right around the probably like the high 38s or high 30s. No, sorry. It would be like a
40s.
Yeah, 40s.
Somewhere in the 40s, low 40.
Yeah, he's
40
got
to
about
45. I don't know. I'm
without
pretty bad at estimating.
without boots, he's got probably 7 minutes left in. Excuse me, length of the pass, and like another 7 for his Turian, including the you have to get down there a little bit more, like 7.5.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, we don't have Ice Beam. So unless he summons into Ice Beam. Those Metro rooms do take a little bit longer. There actually are a couple ways of speeding them up with just power. I know you can like lay the power bomb fairly early and hit all of them. Actually speed up the room a little bit, but yeah, it's kind of gross no matter what.
Also, you should be familiar with the. You should be able to do the speed Zeb skip as well. 99% sure you can do that. So
yeah, I will lay down the fat 100% on that one. I'll go ahead and take that gamble. Pretty sure. Yeah, no, he did an RBO. That's right. Cause I was watching his run, and
there's the odd chance that he
so
might miss it and then opt to just use missiles anyway or something. But
okay, but it's different than not knowing it. I'll give him that.
Yeah.
Cutie coming into Eastern first. I do like this without the mirror.
Yeah, and he never.
If he does get. Yeah, if he gets Fire Rod here, which would be kind of funny because he could have done other stuff with the Fire Rod, but honestly just put off his Shack Tool. But you know, if you don't have the full clear pod, it's for the best. Eastern, you kind of have to just keep doing to have the big key, anyways. Which I guess is true of pod too.
Mm-hmm.
But just more potential time save in pod. I guess the counter argument is maybe you spike the mirror in pod, so maybe do pod first for that reasoning, but.
That's one of the more annoying rooms there that Fusda Bridge. Osse doing a good job of just adapting to not having boots there really stinks. Those guards get in your way, but I like using the Fire Rod just to clear them out of your path real quick.
Do you know how big of a dumb you have to make to be for an SM player to have a Link to the Past room named after you? It's got to be a pretty big dumb.
Wasn't that named after an incident and a one-hit KO?
Yeah.
There? So that's...
There's
the
probably
mirror.
the worst location for a mirror I've ever seen. Yeah, he was doing an Oko run, and I think he was like collecting himself in the beginning of that room or something, and like trying to figure out how he was going to do it, and then the bridge just fell out from underneath him. It's a pretty good clip. Highly recommend it. Yeah, so looks like we are going to be doing Turian Iceless. That's pretty annoying. We've like done this entire I mean, I guess they could have been deeper in GT or something.
Yeah, and then with the mirror, that unlocks so many more things too.
That's true.
So
the mirror
chests out there.
The mirror unlocks all that stuff.
Womp, in particular, having a bunch of items.
Yeah, very nice triple.
Yeah,
I think it was a triple. It might have been a double up on that first hit.
Yeah, it was a 2-3-1.
Okay, yeah. So I wasn't entirely sure if that second one was a 2 or a 3.
Yeah, the first one I believe was just 2. You definitely needed three cycles, so it was not a double triple.
Yeah, well, one of them didn't count, but yeah, it did. Got the old 7-hit Agatu, everyone's favorite. The worst I've seen is a 9-hit ag. That's just insulting.
Alright, we're gonna see some nice Kane strats here from Osse. Setting this up so he doesn't like recoil off of Ganon quite as much. So he can get double spins in. And using his cape as well. Yeah, with the green potion in hand, not surprising, he's just going to use his cape pretty much with abandon here. Even if he runs out of magic, he can just drink the green potion, have enough to light the torch for phase 4, which will be pretty quick with silver arrows. So Master Sword Ganon fight, not particularly difficult with the cape and that half magic.
The hardest part about the Silver Sword Master Sword though is not doing the silverless timing.
Yeah.
You're so used to like baiting the bat and then like
it's so much more natural with when you're charging the sword
it's just like
anyway. It lines up on its own to just work with the silverless hit. Like that. Alright, there we go. As he gets back on to the silver's hit. Freeze Ganon, finish him off. Cutie's making his way through Balance of Darkness.
Yeah, he's gonna stumble into his go mode item here shortly. When he sees that, he's pretty much gonna see the writing on the wall, I think. And he's got to see it now. I mean, maybe he's hoping for mirror again, and then he can make some brainiac play. But I think Cutie knows the situation.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, it's hard to say how Osse's feeling about this run at this point in time, whether he's sweating or not, since obviously he last locationed Shacktool, but knowing how the seed played out, it's hard to feel too bad about that. So it's hard to say that he feels behind, even with that situation.
I think Osse has ever sweated anything in his life, and not just because like he thinks he's winning. I'm just like I've heard him like lose seeds and he just goes, "Oh, okay." Like it's just like he's just so he's very, very mild mannered.
I missed it. Did he turn off his screw attack, or did he leave that on?
No, I think he left it on, and he just broke out a spin there in kind of strategic way to get the grouping done. Yeah, he still got it on.
Yeah, so he's pushing away that third Metroid.
Oh, you know what? I was saying like how impossible it was for you to do Shacktool. Vari was completely easy to get, right? You could have gotten if they had just done escape first, right? They could have easily had that grapple before going into Meridia.
Yeah,
so,
or if either of them had opted to do any hell runs, but
yeah, I mean,
really wanted to do that.
Yeah, maybe a little less likely, but yeah, I mean, if one of them had just, I guess part of it was the no weapons early on, really. I mean, they didn't have the hammer. The sword wasn't until Dark World, so it makes sense skipping out on that early escape. Maybe not putting off for quite as long, but definitely could have had it before Gravity without too much issue, really. So
Yeah, that's true.
but then you just have to make the decision to check shack, you know. And they would have had high jump, and as long as they front doored it, they would have had space jump, right? Because I think space was Mama Turtle.
Space was the beach.
Oh yeah, beach. You're right. Yeah, so so Shack not as it's just they just both happened to dodge Varia, so I wasn't really thinking. I thought the seed was way worse. I mean, still, I mean, something on Shack Tool, it's bad. Like there's no such thing as a Shack Tool seed that's good. But yeah. So I mean, yeah, it just didn't quite fall Cutie's way. I think Osse did leave open the door here a little bit. Like, he's gonna be coming in with a mid 240 here. Cutie definitely can put up times in the low 240s, 230s, depending on just how well they do it. So. That little morph through the top hole there is deceptively difficult. Excuse me. And at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if Osse just decides not to do stand up. He'd have to pop his reserves, and he's only got charged plasma, so it's really not going to save too much.
Yeah, I'm not certain on the DPS. Do you know, Duck? Would it have been effective at all for Osse to have refilled the ship to get more super missiles? I mean, obviously it's going to do more damage per second than missiles or charge shots, but would it be enough?
I mean, charged plasma, I think, is only like, I have no idea. I don't know the numbers for a lot of these things. Like I know missiles, super missiles, and full beam because those are the ones I use. Yeah. I guess also full spacer is 300. I know that. Maybe, I mean, it's like the ship's like 12 seconds or something, so maybe I don't really know. It's close either way.
The ship does depend on how much it has to fill up, right? If you have more energy you're missing, it takes longer.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I do know it's
40 shots full beam is charged plasma.
Yeah, full beam is the fastest. If you don't have exactly full beam, then supers are the fastest, and then missiles are faster than like charged plasma, I think. But like charged even plasma I think is a little faster than that. So it's just like that's kind of how I go through it. And missiles are faster than any spacer. So unless you have full beam, you should always dump your supers.
Alright, looks like ARealCutie's getting these finished with all these garbage checks in Palace of Darkness. So he's going to be finishing up the dungeon, hitting his go mode. While we're watching this cutscene, it looks like, on Osse's side.
All right, so Ossie's gonna be heading into his escape. Didn't get the 3-0.
Oh, through the door. Okay, I was like,
Yeah, through the
3?
door.
It's gonna be sub 3 for sure.
Let's see if we're gonna get a blue bomber here. Nope, just gonna go for the shine. You don't have. You need like speed, high jump, spring ball, and screw attack to go for that. Otherwise, it's not worth it. So pretty rare circumstances that you can go for it.
Yeah, I know it's well, the race is effectively over, but I do think it's a little odd that Cutie's coming to Misery Mire here with his fire rod before going to Skull Woods, since he knows there's a second item there. And it potentially could be boots. He knows he's not going to get anything from Misery Mire apart from the dungeon prize.
I
I
think he's just kind of kneel down mode. He's
Yeah,
kind of
at this
expecting
point-
what he's about to see here.
Yeah, at this point, I think he'll just be clearing dungeons to try to keep going until he sees the dot done. And,
Yeah.
Ossie does take the win.
Yeah, and Cutie is gonna forfeit right here because of that. But yeah, very very nice job by Ossie. Did have that. I guess the story of the sea is missing that Varia, and forcing at that point was basically guarantee you gonna last location. Shack Tool, which had the bow, which gave you Fire Rod exactly on Helmasaur. So pretty rude seed overall. Even with that Varia, like we were saying, like no weapons early on. Like I don't really see when you're really going to do that. I mean, maybe you could have done it, but it's not going to be nearly that early. And Cutie had the fighter sword for most of the seed, not something he's particularly comfortable with. Unfortunately, took that death to Vidi. But I believe we're now joined by Ossie, and yes, we are. So GG's to you.
Hey, GG.
So we're gonna have to talk about you not going for Swag Boom in Pod Basement. It's clearly the most important thing that happened.
I was gonna go for the OK Boomer if I'd thought about it.
I just like I'm so upset. But yeah, I think you caught the tail end of my little spiel there. But yeah, it's just once you miss that Varia, pretty much forcing the last location Shack Tool. So I was just wondering what you kind of thought about when you did see it in that location. If you thought maybe you might be a little behind at that point because maybe Cutie did get the Varia early or what.
Yeah, Cutie makes a good point in our IRC that maybe I should have rushed to that location thinking that he got very early, because that was on my mind as the way to lose the race is if he checks that grapple check tool and it's something. But no, I was just going through all the places. It was also possible that he just lucked into the proper path, so I had to play against that as well.
Yeah, it was. He did have some troubles in Mire, and at that point, so he wanted to Mire first without the lamp, then made the pod play, got the lamp, went back to Mire, then died because he only had the fire sword. He never got the master sword. At that point, we were saying well, he could make, because at that point you had pretty much narrowed it down to Shack Tool. I was like, well, Cutie can just feel like he's so behind. It's time to turn, especially playing you. It's time just to go for the Hail Mary. But he ended up doing just some other checks, and then yeah, you getting the bow, which led right to Fire Rod, was pretty much it. I mean, there was a bunch of times, Cutie did make a couple mistakes. So you talking about he had the soft lock early. You guys end up getting your mitts pretty much on the same exact time, even though it was different locations. But Cutie was hanging around in the seat for a very long time. Just sticking around there, and it's just this is what can happen in SMZ3 is one mistake kind of snowballs, and then it kind of gets out of hand. I think the only other interesting thing was I called you a little lucky early on. I called you lucky only because I was assuming what you were thinking. You did the fake flipper play right after getting Dark World, which seemed a little odd to me, and I thought it was because you were hunting for a weapon because you still didn't have one, and then you just sort of backed into the gravity suit. So I was just
Pretty
wondering.
much looking for a weapon. Or
Yeah, that's what I
something to help
figured.
out.
Yeah, and I thought it was a little lucky that you were looking for a weapon. You ended up spiking a pretty big item.
Yeah, and then I
Master
didn't
would have been
follow
nice, yeah.
gravity.
yeah, and because we were saying like you got like both gloves at the same time, which was Dark World, and it was really weird
Yeah.
that what the seed actually wanted you to do was like, oh no, only the first glove mattered, and you were supposed to go to Zora. And then that didn't even really matter. What you're really supposed to do was you're supposed to go to escape for the Varia suit. So it was the logic of the seed was kind of a little
I mean, like, there's a chance since there was speed boosters you go to Wreck Ship, but I know I go to Wreck Ship earlier than most people, so I figured, oh, I'm like gonna be ahead on Dark World access probably, so I want to go to Dark World as soon as possible. It was like, no, we're gonna give you Dark World access, but everything's still in like Sphere 1.
Yeah.
And then it's like, well, I'm in Dark World in Village of Outcasts with no hammer. I want to go to Thieves' Town without the hammer because I want to isolate that big chest. So I did like Outcast stuffs and like Smith Chain, completely isolating that Master Sword at hammer pegs. And then by the time I eventually got to Zora, it was like, oh, well.
Yeah, if you just took that second glove and instead of putting it in the same sphere, if you put it like in Upper Norfair or something, the seed becomes a lot nicer all of a sudden because you don't automatically go to Dark World, right? You get the glove,
like, okay.
you probably do escape. Yeah, you get the Varia, you get the glove, and like you're annoyed, but it's
We
like
do
at least
escape
it's
for a long
made
time
sense.
too, but then I like finding an item that would lead me away from it. And then I completely forgetting, oh yeah, I can do escape. Not done that yet.
Yeah, we were surprised that you guys both did a.
We kind of forgot about it too. Yeah, we kind of forgot about escape too. Like we're talking about, like, well, there's not much left. There's like Eastern and Pod and a couple scattered things. And it's like, oh yeah, there's Front of Escape, and that's got 3 items.
Yeah, it was about when I finished Meridia and got the hammer. I felt like the hammer didn't really open a whole lot. I needed like lamp for Pod to really have anything, flippers for eyes. And so that's where I started thinking that I missed something earlier.
Yeah, we saw the hammer and we're like, oh, well, okay, that makes sense. Then we're like, wait a minute, it does like pretty much
3
nothing.
checks that are bad.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, why spike the hammer in Meridia? And I completely forgot about escape and decided to like start chasing like weird hammer checks, but I never was able to get back to Village of Outcasts.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit there, Cutie.
Either it was, well, what can I do with this? So there's like not very much I can do, like all of Death Mountain. I found I did to Lower North Fair.
Cutie, you're breaking up.
Okay. I'm trying to remember out. Yeah, no, it was after I found the hammer that I did all the video, and then that's probably when I did escape. I'm mixing up my. I know I forgot that Craig was a thing. I went back into Z3, went to Dark World and stuff, and I'm just like, wait, I'm out of stuff.
Oh, there he goes. Sorry about that. We were we were trying to tell him he was breaking up a little bit. What I caught of it sounded very insightful, to be fair. Yeah. So sorry, I'm a little caught off guard here now. But yeah, it was just a kind of a weird way the logic went. All right, we're rejoined by Cutie. Hopefully he's Mike's a little fixed now. You still there, Cutie? I think he's still trying to fix it. Apologize for this. I guess we're always working on that. Obviously, if you've got any other thoughts to share.
Well, playing the seed, I kind of figured that it played out like a good seed for Cutie. Like it had all the Super Metroid items kind of early, but then it didn't have boots for me or like good Zelda access. So I figured that he'd get an advantage like over the seed. And if he did have a route that found his bow and fire rod, then that makes up for the bad weapons.
Yeah, that makes sense. You back, Cutie?
Yeah, I'm back. I might be a little bit quiet now, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, we can hear you a lot better.
Okay. Yeah. Basically, it was like one of those seeds where I felt like I made like a play that would screw me over later, but it didn't feel like a wrong play. It just felt like a play I made because I'm like way weaker to Link to the Past than most people in this tournament.
Yeah, it makes sense. Aussie was just explaining that this did feel like a pretty good seed for you. You had all the movement items up front.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really felt like you had that early soft lock and like a couple issues in Wreck Ship with dying and spiking room of death. It just just from looking, it felt like that threw you off your game a little bit, and you were just swimming from there on out.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. I was having trouble like routing stuff too, and like remembering what I had left because I was like running. I felt like I was like running out of stuff in Link to the Past. It's just like, whoa, okay. And then when I don't feel like I have anything good to do, it makes things really hard to like decide what I want to do, right? Because it's like,
Yeah.
I can try to do fighter sword bowless Vidi.
Yeah, no, it's not a.
I can't do like I.
Yeah, I mean, we noted that, or I know that you did have a lot of bombs. I know that's one that kind of just like some of the SM fights. Like, you have to think very differently when you have low percent. You can't just kind of force your way through it, and knowing what all your weapons do and which ones to use makes a big difference. But that's by no means an easy fight with that equipment, or a quick fight for anyone.
Yeah, I kept thinking that something might have been in Eastern because I found bombs and I went to Sahasrahla right away, but I didn't want to go into Eastern because like I've tried that before, but it's like if I don't find like a weapon or like a heart or something like in the dark room, it's like, okay, well you're probably gonna take at least like one hit, and it's like, well now you see like big key skip on like a heart and a half or like 2 hearts, and it's just like if you like go to Eastern right away. But like the whole time I was just like, it's probably like something in like a really early sphere like Eastern. But
yeah, I mean, I think I'm not trying to needle or anything, but I think the only disappointing thing is it seems like there was a sensible route, especially for you through the seed, especially with Aussie last locationing his bow, where he may have been a little vulnerable, and just unfortunately you weren't really able to capitalize on it. Mostly just, I mean, once you miss that Varia, which is, I mean, makes sense. Like, when are you going to do escape without a weapon? Maybe thinking about doing it with a pyramid or something. So you just never do it. But if you just made that one play, a lot of stuff falls into place, and this definitely could have been a lot closer.
Yeah, I was thinking about like just buying a ton of bombs and then escape with bombs before I found Morph Ball, right? And then I go back to Z3. It's like, okay, I find Sword, but I have Dark World access, so it's like I don't want to go do escape before going to Dark World. Or it just, I don't know. There are a lot of things where it felt like there wasn't a decent time for me to do them just based on how I routed the beginning by rushing Dark World with my mitts and then like kind of isolating some stuff in Village of Outcasts.
Yeah, I mean, through most of the seed, it was like you guys were in like the same dungeon, like you were in Mire at the same exact time, although you didn't have the lamp, so you couldn't finish it. You were also in like Thieves Town at the same time, but it was like Aussie had like done like one extra check that hadn't really like paid off. So like when you were, in fact, when you got to Lower Norfair, like you were ahead in logic, you just were behind by a couple checks that ended up being nothing. So like you were hanging around the seed for a really long time, and then it wasn't really until kind of the Mire stuff is when it really Aussie kind of opened it up.
Which is about where I figured it would kind of happen, because it's like, well, I didn't want to go to Pod. I mean, like I can do that dark room, but I'm not very confident doing that dark room. It's just like, okay, well, I don't even have bow, I don't have lamp. It's just like the odds that what I need in Pod are probably pretty low, because for all I know, my bow might be my go mode, or like lamp's already pretty late in this seed. So I was like, I don't want to go to Pod until I like have to.
Yeah, I mean that lamp because it was bow locked, right? So that lamp, we were thinking that lamp was because I think we were all thinking like, oh yeah, it's gonna be something Pyramid Fairy, and it's like, nope, Shack Tool for your fire rod on Helma, and then you get that fire rod and lamp, and then it doesn't matter, right? So
Yeah, no, I thought for sure it would be Pyramid Fairy after I found that lamp, and then I died to Vidi, and it's just like, okay, I gotta pray it's like Pyramid Fairy, and then he can't find his bow, and that he's like dipping TR and like, you know, pulling
Yeah.
head or something.
yeah, but it was, I mean, it was a good, it's, even though Aussie ended up winning by a good amount,
Yeah,
like
he did.
it's
That's kind of about what I expected. I definitely have, I think the past weakness issues where if I like don't have super strong equipment, I can just like absolutely roll over. Whereas like if I have like decent equipment, I can kind of make up for it. But
yeah, I'd say it was still a good rate. Like it was very close through most of it, and there was definitely a couple places where you could have taken a lead in it. So
Yeah.
and just you guys are both some of the top SM players in this tournament left. So it's always fun watching some really good SM play. Congratulations on your plasms work.
thank you.
I'm not sure if that's the first one of the tourney or not.
It definitely is. There's no one else in the tournament who can do it other than Ivan, and he's washed up. So
Oh, okay. I'm just confirming you didn't get another one, basically.
no, I didn't.
All right,
I got to show off ballistic attic. I kept telling you, I'm just like, I want to get to attic with speed booster, and I can just do ballistic.
I did curse you because after you soft locked, I'm like, well, I guess the nice thing is we get to see this really sweet attic again, and then you completely bailed on it, and I'm like, I actually cursed both of you guys in the seed early on, like 3 or 4 times, and I decided just to shut up.
I didn't bonk the wall the second time, which is still possible. It just like it makes getting the double hit on the key hunter like basically it's probably not frame perfect, but it's like only a few frames, just because you get there so soon. Which is why you like in runs you try to bonk the wall, even though you don't have to. So I just jumped a bit too early, and my entry into the room made it really hard to get.
Yeah,
But
well, it was very good race.
It was fun to
Again,
play.
just
I got to play Super Metroid with movement items, so I can't complain.
yeah, and then you had fighter sword, so win some, lose some.
Yeah.
And no boots, more important.
And no boots, wherever those were. And that mirror, like, yeah, the mirror at the top of GT, and then the tempered sword on GT Torch. Yeah, that was just
Yeah,
that was
like,
that was the
if I had,
seat
like,
twisting the knife.
I had a ton of one-offs, but they were like, if I had mirror, I could have routed them way better, or like,
Yeah.
because it's like I wanted to get to like bumper wedge, because I'm just like that's like literally isolated right now because I don't have mirror. Like,
Yeah, mirrorless seeds are very difficult to route, honestly. So
they are, especially like, and I was just like running into like, okay, well now what do I do? It's like I can go to like pod and not beat it. I can get like catfish, which is isolated. I can do pyramid ledge, which is isolated. I can go back into Thieves Town and check the big chest. I can go back to Meridia, and it's like, well, like what do I do? Turns out all those were good options.
yeah. So with that, this is you are eliminated from the tournament. So GG's to you. It's always fun watching you run.
Tied for ninth.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll let you have that one.
Way to think of it.
Tied for ninth.
And then Aussie, you are going to play the winner of me versus ALTTP. If you want to, any thoughts about potential matchups on that one?
I don't know. It's a little interesting in that Alucard, he was someone who played a lot of combo rando like in the earlier days of the randomizer. And then you're sort of a newer player relatively. So it's neat to have you two butting heads.
Yeah, it should be a good match. You did defeat one member of Team Corndog, so maybe you'll get a chance for the sweep.
The sweep.
I do have to, yeah.
That one.
Yeah, well, I've been thinking about that one. We'll have to. I might have to give Aussie a gift sub so he can throw the corn dogs down if he ends up pulling it off. Assuming I can pull off a win against ALTTP, which definitely is going to be difficult to do. He's a very, very good player, so it should be a fun match. And then we get the the winner of it gets the reward of playing Aussie, which is just such a great prize.
I should have done the big race right before they did seeding. I would have been in not the hardest quartile.
I got third, and I would have gotten first if I realized Meyer wasn't was a pendant.
I was 16 seed. It's just like if I place like even like top 10 in that like 15-person race, I'm probably like the 14th or seed or something. And it's just like, well, now my quartile gets way easier. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's how it goes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm was several spots ahead of you. I have to face Aussie one round later, maybe,
Yeah, I mean,
if I even get that
it's
far. So,
randomizer, so like that's how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't
I
really
mean,
be upset about it.
yeah. And then,
Just
like,
won the race, so.
on the other half of the bracket, I got Azure, who's just as much as a buzzsaw. So,
Yeah, but Azur's gonna forget Kane, so it's okay.
it's okay. Aussie's gonna forget mitts. I gave the seed a seed. I thought he could world record. He forgot mitts on library. what an ungrateful jerk. Well, yeah, Ace. If you got any other questions for these guys?
No, I think we've covered it all. It was a good race. It was a lot of fun. Definitely an interesting seed. Probably not the most fun to play the whole way through, but
there was a way of
was
doing this
different.
that was fun, but it would have required a lot of right
Bootless. It would
guesses.
have required boots.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's that. There is that. You do get high jump and speed though, so that's a nice consolation prize.
Yeah.
True.
Let's see, what was it? I had Pearl on Shack in one of them. I had my first glove on left side swamp, another, and this one. Good tournament. If you want to race a cursed seed, just race me.
Note it. Just bringing up the schedule here real quick. Yeah, so this is the last match for today. We do have two pretty good ones for you tomorrow. We got Migs versus Solsky on, they don't have a SpeedGaming channel assigned yet, but they have commentators assigned. But yeah, it's Migs versus Solsky at 2:10, and that'll be shortly followed by Bressingham, our tracker today, actually, who did a great job. Shout outs to him, versus Dragon Darch. Both of those matches should be pretty good, so check those out. Some midday randomizer for you guys. I do think that it's it for us tonight. I don't think there's anything else going on. So Ace, I'll let you have the last word because I'm terrible at it.
All right. Well, I'll just echo what's already been said. It was a fun race. Had a good time. I really enjoyed doing commentary with the Apathy Duck. And again, shout outs to Bressingham Voight on the tracker and the two runners. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great night.